it snow.
Four Midwest Guys
Wait
presents
for them to ask you who you know. Please don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse.
Suicide Squad Reaction.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back again to Four Midwest Guys Presents Suicide Squad Reactions. If you're wondering what the again part is, first attempt at this podcast didn't go well. It was just me talking, and you couldn't hear the other guys. So we're at it again, and with me again is Mr. Johnny Z.
I'm pretty sure you didn't mind missing me. You didn't miss me on there, did you?
I actually missed all you guys. It was it was strange just hearing myself. Mr. Ankenbauer's with us.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
What's going on, B? And my brother Aaron.
Yeah, how's it going?
All right, guys, I'm doing pretty well. Hopefully this time we've got two systems recording, so we have a backup. So,
And both of them will only pick up you again.
let's hope not.
This is going to be one Midwest guy presents four Midwest guys by the time it's over.
Something like that. All right, so let's get into Suicide Squad. So first part of the podcast, we'll do what we call our spoiler-free section, and we'll get into our spoiler section. But so for the spoiler-free part, we'll just go around real quick. Would you say it's worth seeing in the theater, John?
Yeah, maybe the cheap seat theater.
Cheap seat theater? Okay, that's fair. Brian?
Yes, it's definitely worth seeing.
Definitely worth seeing. Okay.
Sure.
Aaron says, yeah. I agree. I think it's worth seeing in the theater. Don't have a problem with it. Cheap seats, definitely worth seeing. Okay, so let's talk about the effects in the movie real quick. Just the special effects, just from that perspective. Aaron, what do you think?
6.
A 6 on the 1 to 10, 6. Okay. Brian?
7.
7? Okay. Johnny?
Yeah, 6. If
6?
we were going to call them special, I mean, there's nothing special.
Yeah, I give it. I'm with you guys. Between a 6 and a 7, somewhere in there. It was your standard special effects.
I get the
You'd
feeling.
see
I get the feeling this is going to be like a really quick show. The way we're answering everything, I'm not going to get time for my alcohol to kick in.
We'll
Keep drinking afterwards. It'll be fun.
All right, I got to.
This is
make
just
it
the
for lost time.
spoiler-free stuff, man. This isn't like the get into it stuff. So.
I got to start quick here. Hang on.
Keep drinking. All right, and while you're taking shots, let's talk about action on a scale of 1 to 10. Brian, what did you think?
I'm going to say probably about an 8.5.
8.5?
Yeah, I felt like it was pretty much action-packed the whole way through.
All the way through? Okay. Aaron, what did you
6.
think? 6? Johnny?
5.
A 5? Really? Okay.
It's no stakes.
I'm going to say it was at least a 7, between 7 and an 8, I think. It was actually maybe higher, actually, now that I think about it. It was kind of like, it was like a speed, like a comic book speed movie. It moved very, very quickly. There was very little downtime, so I'm an action point. Definitely.
There's another one that came out last year like that you seem to have an issue with.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that. All right.
It was better.
We'll get... That's another podcast.
That's for another show.
That's another show. Okay, so let's just talk about the story and the plot on a scale of 1 to 10. John?
5.
5? Okay.
I mean, I can't get too angry about it, but I can't get too excited.
Okay, that's fair. Aaron?
7.
7? Okay. Brian? What would you say?
Yeah, I would say about 5 or 6.
5 or 6? Yeah. I give it probably a good solid 8. Actually, not a solid 8.
It's a very flexible 8, a flaccid 8.
You're very indecisive about this, considering this is the second time we've answered this.
I know.
You're answering it completely different than you did the first time.
Did you forget your previous answers?
I did, actually.
You know, you're the only one whose answers were recorded.
You should have
Not
your
only is
answer.
there a week between podcasts, but there's just some alcohol there, in between the flush out. Yeah, actually, when I think about it, it's more probably a 6.5. Somewhere there in the
That's
story.
about where you were last time.
Yeah. So,
Wow, you're giving the peer pressure, man.
no, I'm just trying to remember from last time. Oh, no, man. Leave me alone. All right. So was it true to DC characters? Just a simple yes or no, guys? Aaron?
Some of them, sure.
Some, sir?
Yeah.
Not all, though?
No, not all of them, but for some of them it does.
Okay. Brian?
I'm in the same boat. Some of them, I would say a majority of them it was yes, but there was maybe 1 or 2 that was like no.
Yeah.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I don't think it's a quick yes or no. There's some in which it was okay, but then other times it's just like, no, this is nothing like the comic.
I don't have much to reference off of this, but I would say the one character I know really well, yes. The rest of them I didn't know a whole lot about, so it's kind of open-ended, I suppose, for me on that one.
Yeah, a lot of them I had to like go to the DC Encyclopedia just to look up to see who the hell these people were.
Yeah, with like Slipknot, and I don't even remember what that character was actually originally called. Like, was it Nooseman or some shit like that?
Hangman, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was Hangman.
Hangman?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Who didn't have a neck to hang himself with after this?
Apparently, yeah.
I don't know. Did the AC kick on? All of a sudden I'm hearing
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the air conditioning.
Okay, it's picking it up. I was like, because I'm wearing the headphones.
We're coming to you live from our basement, which sadly this is the quietest area we can do
It's really cold now because the AC's kicked on.
because there won't be a screaming 2-year-old running through here going, "What you doing?
Yeah.
What's that word mean?" You ask your mom.
What does bitch mean? Anyway.
I should shove what up? We're out.
Done. All right, so from
Very weird advice to give to a 2-year-old.
okay,
I didn't say it was advice. I just said she like happens to overhear what I say.
Oh, okay.
okay, it's not a parental advice show,
We're not Deadpool again.
not yet. So,
Well, we can talk about how all people are taking their kids to see Sausage Party because it's
All
a
right.
nice little animation.
oh my god,
We should do a whole thing of Sausage Party.
I saw it. It wasn't bad.
No,
I want to see that.
no, too much weed. All right,
What do you expect from Seth Rogen?
I know.
It's more or less what he does, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so from this point on, you are hereby fairly warned that it is a spoiler alert, spoiler section. Just be advised. From this point forward, this will be a spoiler review. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, pause this podcast, go see the movie, and then
Or
turns back on. All right, so let's pick up where we left off in the non-spoiler section. Was it true to characters, yes or no, and why this time, Mr. Eichenbauer?
So the one I didn't care for was the Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thug Joker.
Yeah, Thug Life Joker was just
Joker for life.
it was awful. There was a couple parts where you kind of felt like the actual Joker was trying to come through the portrayal, but for the most part, it felt like he was a drug dealer.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was Leto's inspiration, was like drug lords on Twitter, and it shows. Like,
Why? The Joker's not a drug dealer.
And
Oh, he's not. There's nothing close to that inspiration ever, but that's what he went with.
I know it's like so. I'm looking at drug dealers as my inspiration. Like, what character are you playing? Oh, I'm playing Cinderella. like what? Like, why would you? That's like I don't understand Leto's. I'm gonna watch.
His method.
Yeah,
the method.
That's so stupid. Like,
Well, yeah, but like if you're
It
going to do
completely
method
ruined it.
acting, why are you going to go just like this weird, different direction with it?
I sat in an insane asylum for the criminally insane that did the most violent, horrible acts known to man. Oh, and what role are you playing today? I'm in the remake of Beauty and the Beast.
yeah,
I played the clock.
yeah. He's like, I'm Cluxworth. Like what?
We are kissed.
See it. So that was really the only one that bothered me.
Yeah.
The other ones,
Kind of like
you
hit
can-
or miss.
Yeah, you can give or take. They for the most part hit on their main principles. But yeah, the Joker was by
I mean,
far
you
the
have
worst.
Enchantress that's pretty different from how it is in the comic books.
You mean the belly dancer?
Yeah, belly dancer. The lady who gets her powers through shimmying.
And we know some people that,
Shimmy.
they'd like to imagine themselves getting powers by doing that.
I'm sure a lot of people do. At the same time, it was entertaining different, so...
Yeah, it wasn't that one. That one wasn't a. I didn't watch. I didn't track Garbage Men to do my role as Enchantress.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
I stood in a cubicle for 5 hours for 3 weeks every day because I needed to learn how to be an Amazon Enchantress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a character they did kind of make slightly more urban, and it kind of worked, was Killer Croc. Like, I thought
I
that
did
was
like
kind
that.
of... I thought
Yeah.
that was an interesting change, like, and it worked for the character, weirdly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
I'll agree. It did, that one I don't think although his voice was too mumbled.
Yeah, it's really deep and it's hard to kind of
Yeah,
hear. Like if you heard like the original cut of like Bane and like
The Dark Knight, the original Dark Knight Rises, when they showed like that clip in front of Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, and everyone went, "What the hell are you doing?"
yeah, like no one
we
knows
can
what
understand Christian Bale more than him.
Yeah, essentially, like they had to modify his voice for like the actual film because just like the earlier screenings of it just sounded so off. Like it's kind of like
Yeah, what are mixers doing lately with people's voices? Like to make them sound more intimidating, they give them more of like the gravelly throat, and it's like there's only so far you can give someone reverb until they're not natural.
Like, dude, get the marbles out of your mouth when you're talking. It's like,
I'm beautiful.
we were what?
it's like,
I'm beautiful.
What?
Look here.
You're beautiful. What the hell are you talking about?
Look here. I said I look here.
First cut of Bane, yeah, like you were saying. So,
nobody cared who I was until I took off the muzzle.
what you guys think of Harley? I thought that was pretty damn close to at least the cartoon. I mean, that's the only version I know of her. But
to me, like it's
You know.
the Jersey accent's a little thicker, but at the same time,
sure,
like
but
I
that's
thought
a voice
she-
actor, kind of.
Yeah, I actually thought she did really well, and like that's a good portrayal. I'd actually enjoy seeing that as like a standalone sort of film for her.
There was
Yeah.
a line or two which I actually like heard her Australian accent come out just a little bit.
Really, I didn't pick up on it, but I didn't even realize she was Australian until I watched that
That
one
little clip that
interview
I
you sent, yeah.
I posted a clip where she was like reading all these Aussie slang and talking about what they mean.
I admit she had a hard time, I think, carrying the Jersey accent at all times, but I thought as far as if Harley Quinn was alive and well and in flesh, that
She
was
did
pretty
do
close.
a great portrayal of her. I think the only thing I had an issue with, I mean, granted it was nice to look at, but the booty shorts were a bit distracting for her as a character for me.
I mean, if you look at like some Harley Quinn standalone comics, you do kind of see her kind of having kind of a variety of costumes that are a bit more revealing.
does, but I think I kind of like the biker chick with like the leather strap look that she had in like Arkham Asylum or Arkham
Well, yeah,
City.
but I mean, that
that's-
was
I mean, if you're gonna
borderline
sex her up, at
dominatrix-y.
least but if you're gonna sex her up, go that route. I mean, the other one was just she played like insane arm candy, which she was, but
But she's always been like the girl next door gone crazy,
Well, yeah,
kind of-
except in this
Just
film,
a
you
bit
have
like she's
her
the girl
being,
next door of, like,
shocked
you know,
to that point.
yeah, she just happens to be the Joker's next door neighbor, not you know. That's how it.
the next door neighbor of like
Yeah.
Bedlam or
Right.
New Bedlam.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about overall plot. We weren't real impressed, obviously. What did you think about the overall plot, Aaron? I mean,
I think it's kind of a generic kind of comic book storyline. Like, in some ways, I think that's kind of a plus for it because I was horribly concerned it was going to be just a Joker sort of plot line, and I'm glad they didn't include them as much as they did. I'm very happy they didn't include the Joker Batman suit thing that they had a figurine for over the summer. Because I think that would have been fucking horrible.
Wow, I didn't.
Yeah,
know
there was
that.
a figurine released of Joker like in this fake Batman suit, and it looked fucking horrible. Like because it had like all the tattoos they have for Joker in this, like they had that spray painted over it, and it's like purple and green.
Yeah, what it kind of resembled was the Robin outfit that's in a glass case.
It's
Yeah.
actually very similar to that.
A friend of mine literally just today brought up an interesting point. The only way that this Joker would make sense is if they actually revealed later on that was Jason Todd.
I actually have heard that theory. That's what they're going to reveal is that it isn't actually the Joker that we've come to know. It's just Jason Todd, which works in some ways. But I really hate it because I think Red Hood is actually a much better character than this Joker.
Well, to be fair, there is at least an interview where Leto says there's a lot of scenes that get cut of his performance. One in particular, apparently.
Well, the scenes that are left aren't great.
No, but apparently there's one scene, and I'll just, it's a spoiler part of the podcast, so I'll put it out there. Apparently he burns down Wayne Manor, and Batman says you've gone too far this time, and literally punches out all of his teeth. So that's why he has this grill.
Joker Thug for Life
The Joker
grills.
Thug
Is
grill.
that it's his replacement teeth?
And that's why he keeps...
It's his dentures?
And he can't smile, and that's why he has that stupid-ass tattoo, and he always he's putting it up against his mouth.
But he does smile throughout the film.
He does.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
but
so
that's-
it's
But that's
And to
one
be honest,
critical
like the
scene I would've
little
loved
like
to see.
tattoo right here, like the little smiley lips, like that was actually one of the better tattoos on the character.
I agree.
It's much better than
was-
damage written.
I'm not
across
saying-
the
Oh
board.
my
that's-
god, that damage tattoo literally
Well-
reminded me of like every goth kid.
Well,
in
that's
high
that's,
school.
Yeah, it's-
that's part of it
it's-
too.
it's
That's
one of the
why he
things,
has
like-
damaged on there because the
Joker is
the
not
Batman
a,
damaged him.
Joker is not a Hot Topics character. I'm sorry.
That's the funny thing is, like, you look at Jared Leto's performance and you're just like, God, dude, you're just trying
But-
too fucking hard on this.
Yeah,
and
that's
just,
exactly
and that's
what it,
even
but-
just
but-
like the tattoos. That's what you
Just,
get at.
just think for 2 seconds though. If you'd seen that scene, at least it would make a little bit more sense than what we got.
There'd be context for like the
Because-
grill, but that'd be it.
Because once I heard, yeah, but the whole damage thing, at least it would make a little bit more sense rather than the thug lord
It would.
we got.
It would
you know?
justify one piece of art or one clothing article.
It would justify
also,
his
I don't know if we talked about
the
this
grill,
last
which I
time.
can't
Why
say.
does he have like 12 goddamn like clothing changes throughout this film? Like every other scene, he's in a
I
different
missed like
outfit.
his purple trench coat, straight like Heath Ledger's purple trench coat, and that was it. That
Well,
was just
and
to cover up all the
don't
damn
get me wrong,
knives and
like,
grenades he
this
had.
film takes place over what, like 2 to 3 days, something like that.
About that, yeah.
And he's got like every scene you see him in, he's in a different outfit, and I don't understand why.
He's in a lot of different outfits in this one.
Yeah, he's like has a clothing change for every different scene.
because he's Queen Amidala secretly.
Oh, you motherfucker!
Unnecessary costume changes.
Hey!
Queen Amidala.
Hey, for someone who follows costume design, I have a right to criticize.
Queen Amidala. Thug for life.
Amidala for life, bitches.
Oh my god! All right. So let's go back to the plot. We kind of got off on another Joker tinge, and that's fine.
There's gonna be a few of them.
But overall, I mean, for me, the plot was decent all the way till the end. Once we got to the end, then it all fell apart for me. I don't know. What do you think, Brian? Did you say
Well,
something
no, I mean,
similar?
the plot is different than the story, right?
No, that's essentially the same. Yeah, the plot's what is the story drives.
Well, because I mean, like the whole thing worked, but there wasn't enough of it.
Yeah.
And we talked about it before. Like if we'd had seen the backstory of how the Enchantress, like what she was prior to, you know,
If you built up the villain a bit more, you feel like you'd be more invested.
there was. We didn't have we didn't have any kind of developing story about the villain. So all the heroes or the bad guys in the movie, all the heroes, we didn't have as much of a connection with them that we could have had if the villain would have been more in depth.
Yeah, I think that's something we see in a lot of superhero films. Like the film's almost as good as the antagonist.
Well, in this case, we have nothing but antagonists.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're kind of putting them in kind of anti-hero sort of roles, so you can.
It just happens very quickly, though.
Yeah.
I mean, right? I mean, just
Well, it's kind of interesting because you have the first half an hour that kind of is just like going over backstory for like certain characters and kind of introducing them, which actually I thought worked okay. And then you just kind of rush into things like this is clearly a film where you're watching like two different films, and with you the post-production scenes and all that, you kind of get that feel to it.
right. Okay. John, what do you think about the overall plot and story?
Again, like it was like when you were saying when we first mentioned it. It wasn't anything that angered me in the plot versus, there's nothing that excited me. Like, and I think Hank, you brought up an interesting point. Like, his plot and story, the same thing, and then we started like going on with the characters. I mean, some movies are very character driven or character based, and then like if you watch Boogie Nights, there's very little plot, but it's all about the choices the characters make.
You
and
can make the same argument for like American Beauty,
Yeah.
like where that's a very character-driven thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, exactly. Or then you have something that's incredibly plot heavy, like I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head.
Fury Road.
The Matrix.
Spotlight. Even the director of Fury Road has even said the first half is a race and the second half is a chase.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right,
I
like
mean,
I said,
he knows.
Fury Road, the road to nowhere and back again.
That's a different podcast. All right, we'll get to there. We'll get there. It's coming. I promise.
Pushing the buttons, man.
It's
I know.
coming.
You,
It's coming.
you hit the Goku button. You shouldn't have did that. No, but and I think this is an interesting thing is like, do we know? So when you ask about how did the overall story work, it's like, well, the story, like Aaron said, exists as a basic superhero film or an
I think it would have
anti-hero.
worked better in like a 30, 45 minute like sort of
It
episode
would.
sort of format, but
I don't know. It's just like there are decisions in the stories, like in Batman v Superman, that made me angry. That made me like it would have gone lower in the ratings had it been that. But I don't know. It's
Do you
just,
think it's because you're not as invested in these characters? Maybe
not so
'cause there's
much.
not-
I mean,
not-
like I went into Guardians of the Galaxy and I didn't have any investment in any of the characters. I didn't know anything about them, and I came out loving all 5 of them.
Okay.
You know, because and then again, I think that's something that it's not a very plot-driven film. It's something that got you to love the characters.
well, and I think with this film, it kind of tries to jump back and forth between what it wants to do in that regard, doesn't it? Because it spend some time investing in
Yeah.
like the characters and backstory, and then there's other times where it's just pacing along for the plot, and you don't really know characters' motives or what they're interested in.
And I think the other thing too is they don't really think it didn't really think about what it was doing because there's a very fundamental flaw with this story as a whole, and that is this entire movie would not have existed had the Suicide Squad not been pitched to be formed in the first place.
Oh yeah, and then that,
Because if you didn't try to use the Enchantress, you would have no movie.
Well, that's
So
just-
this whole thing
well,
did.
that's the same thing like saying if the ticket taker on the Titanic did his job, then Jack would never boarded the ship and we wouldn't have the movie Titanic.
Well, I mean, the guy that like said, "Did you get deloused or whatever?"
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so you can say that with every movie.
No,
You're just
that-
like,
that's a
if
little-
this part didn't happen, then the whole movie wouldn't have happened.
well, I just
Well, no,
think
I mean
he's
this
saying
this
they're
is
close
this is a
together.
very big plot point right there. Is the fact that this whole Suicide Squad initiative is here. I mean, the boat would have taken off regardless.
Right,
you
but-
just wouldn't have had Jack.
Right, but-
this whole Suicide
But that's
Squad
what the
had not
Suicide
been
Squad is, though, is because of the power of Superman and everything else. That's why Suicide Squad was formed to begin with.
Well, you could
Was
make
be-
the argument that the Enchantress has already possessed June Moon by the time this film begins, so it could become a villain at some point.
like
regardless.
yeah, like if we
But
would
she
have
wouldn't have been manipulated by Amanda then.
if we would have
yeah,
seen
not
it
to the same extent.
if we would have seen it
she still could
before-
have done more or less the same thing. Just like people aren't worshiping me, I want more attention. Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy.
Yeah,
Oh my
Yeah.
god, this whole movie is written by the goth kids.
Yeah, yeah. If we would have seen the backstory with Enchantress, we would have seen that, you know, she was a very powerful person way back when.
Yeah, it kind
then-
of hints
and-
at her being almost worshipped in a godlike fashion.
Yeah, and then her civilization or whatever turned on her, and that's what put her into that cave or whatever where June, whatever her name is.
well, inside the doll, the
or-
voodoo doll,
Yeah.
whatever.
You know, there's ways to show all of this literally in less than a minute.
yeah.
A halfway talented filmmaker could do that in the plot. So, yeah, it's a thing like, you know, there's times where there's too much story, but at the same time, is not enough story, and then there's too much character development and not enough character development. So it's just it skirts the line of not doing anything adequately. It doesn't know what it needs to develop or what it needs to further in the plot, but it gives you too much of certain little spices.
And we'll get into it more later. It just seems like it was cut for time. It intentionally.
Which
cut
Warner
for
Brothers
time.
DC stuff knows how to cut things that we really need in a film.
All right, so let's talk about. We were already kind of talking about it. Let's talk about Amanda Weller. Is she a good guy or is she a bad guy? What do you think, John? You think she's a good guy or a bad guy?
I think she's the worst of the anti-heroes. She has the best of intentions, but she does the worst things.
Okay.
She's the perfect politician.
Yeah. What do you think, Brian?
Oh, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
She's a good guy that goes about everything the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like she sees what outcome she wants. She's for the good of everybody,
Yeah.
right? And she wants to do the right thing, but her way of getting there is bullying and everything
Murdering.
else. And, yeah,
Bullying, murdering.
you know. But she's going about it the entire. She wants to be able to control. Her whole thing is control. Mm-hmm. Like from the very beginning. So if you're not needed, she kills you. And, you know, that's why she has stuff on all of them that says if you don't do this, you know, you'll never see your daughter again, or I'll kill your daughter, or
Or I'll just
you know,
flat out kill you with what's
yeah,
inside you.
right. So she has.
She's got the Snake Plissken thing.
Yeah, it's a control thing.
Gotcha. All right, Aaron.
She's definitely for the greater good sort of character.
The greats are good.
Like, she's more than happy to, you know, kill 5 people to save 10 sort of thing.
Okay.
It's more or less how she goes about it.
Yeah, I just think she's an absolute control freak.
Partially.
Like a power hungry. The fact that the part where she was just killing FBI agents that were helping them because they weren't cleared to see the material after they got rescued.
Well, I mean,
it just shows you how
she's a very political character, and if you look at international politics,
Yeah, she's a politician.
That's something you kind of see. Is you see one area kind of intervening in another country for its own benefit, and there is a certain level of control in that regard.
But I'm just saying, it just seems like it's pretty dark, though. I mean, you'd take she's shooting FBI agents just because they don't have clearance to see what they saw.
Well, I mean, you don't want to have certain information leaked and create a scandal, and
well, sure, but
that's all right.
You think you at least try to give them the security clearance first before you just start. You're dead. You're dead. You're dead.
Apparently, she found that easier.
I guess so. Yeah.
You know, the funny thing watching this, and it's me knowing too many actors in the 90s. And actually, she was the original voice of Amanda Walker, if I'm not mistaken, CCH Pounder on the animated series.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing Viola Davis in this role, which Viola Davis is an amazing actress, nothing against her, but it made me think that had this movie had been made 20 years ago, the actress that voiced Amanda Walker in the cartoon would have been perfect for playing her in the movie.
Good point. I can't remember any
She
of those
was
scenes, but
the best way I could describe her is if anyone has ever seen ER, she was in the first couple seasons, or if she was in Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight, she's the one. She's basically the owner of the hotel that pulls like all the grenades on her chest right before she's about to get eaten by the demons.
gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, she was the original voice of Amanda Walker, I believe. I was like, oh my god, this actress would have been perfect for her.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So let's talk a little bit. We've pretty much beat it to death, but let's talk about it for a second. Would you have liked to see more of the Joker?
No.
Aaron, no, definitely saw enough, huh?
Yep,
Even
I'm
with
good.
that scene I talked about, that whole extra scene that might have
I
made
might
a little
watch
bit of
it like if
difference.
it's a deleted clip sort of thing. At the same time, I don't feel like it really adds to the character that heavily.
You don't think it would have changed your mind even a little
No.
bit? No.
Not really.
Okay, Brian.
No.
No, definitely not. Okay, Johnny.
I think any more of his presence in this movie would have made it feel like, Menace to Gotham.
Now, see, I would have liked to have seen the Joker show up at the end. I think that would have made the ending better. I would
It
like to
wasn't
have
the
seen-
end. He wasn't the very end.
No, I mean during like the big bad.
Oh, the fight with
Battle?
the big bad at
yeah,
the
the
end.
battle.
Oh, the deleted scene?
The kaiju
When
monster
he,
fight.
when he had the hand grenade?
Yeah, I've heard about it, but
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen that. I think it was missing. I thought that would have been a perfect place
The
to see.
the Enchantress should have been sprayed with an acid flower.
Yeah, that would have been awesome as far
That
as
would have
I'm-
been hilarious.
Yeah.
That would have made this movie so much better.
Yeah,
And he's like, ha, you're not dead. Ha, you're not dead.
yeah,
I'm glad you're dead.
exactly. Thank you. My line. Thank you. All right, Will Smith, guys. Do you think he still got it? I thought he did an awesome job, Johnny.
He was fine in the role. It's just, the movie to me, while it should have been an ensemble piece, was basically the Deadshot Harley Quinn movie. But
Yeah, it was.
yeah, he was fine with it. I mean, he did a good character, and I had a strong emotional connection to him. I mean, probably also the fact that I have a daughter myself. But
Yeah.
and again, that's nothing like the character of Deadshot in the comics. He's not motivated by family, but this character, there's more of an immediate, connection to him.
There's more
So-
depth to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, this kind of felt like the Will Smith of the summer, the big blockbuster summer. Will Smith. What do you think?
Well, it definitely felt like one of his bigger roles.
Yeah.
I know it was one of his better movies, but it felt like one of his bigger, like, action movies. Like you were talking, like Independence Day, that kind of Will Smith,
His
where we
90s
just
popcorn
Men in
stuff.
Black.
yeah, like
Yeah.
where he was trying to put out a good movie.
Yeah.
Like I did read an article where he was doing an interview, and he said nowadays he actually has to. He found it with After Earth. He goes. I didn't realize, but you have to now watch what roles you do. You can't put out a bad movie because you just get blasted for it forever. He goes,
Yeah.
Well, it's the old Hollywood rule. You're only as good as your last movie.
right, and that's what he said. The internet now has changed the landscape, whereas before it used to be you saw the trailers, you saw the movie. If
Yeah.
you didn't like the movie, you told people not to see the movie. So it still did okay, but it wasn't great, right?
Your voice didn't carry as far.
Right, and
Yeah.
now it's
Every
you,
little
ha-
voice matters.
you have 12 people that have seen the movie 3 days earlier, and all of a sudden now nobody sees the movie because those 12 people saw the movie and said it was awful.
Yeah.
And he said so the internet's changed the landscape of stuff. He said, but he really liked this role.
It definitely came through.
It definitely, you can tell.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Aaron, what do you think?
I think he did fine in the role. I think there's not, for as many characters you had in the film, it's kind of hard to utilize them really well for it, though. Because you kind of are jumping from, let's give backstory for this character and that character, and we have this giant plot to advance. So it was a decent role. It's just it didn't have a whole lot for him to do in certain regards, even though he was one of the main characters.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, like I said, I just it really felt like Will Smith of old. Just to me, I don't know. So.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like I just remembered, once we asked this question, I was like, the first time we recorded this, or I actually said like this character reminded me of Will Smith's dedication to his Wild Wild West character.
Yeah, I remember.
Because,
I'm like, what?
Well, because it didn't matter the subject material. He was just out there to entertain you,
And it was fun, and it
Yeah.
came,
and it did come through. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I would like to see more of just. Well, we'll get to that later.
Would you have
Sorry.
been more entertained if the giant machine at the end was a giant robot spider?
Yes.
It would have been better than what we got.
You know what? I'll tell you
than the
this, that-
shimmy crap.
You don't like the Enchantress giving her powers through shimmying and then trying
Don't
to
get me
destroy
wrong.
the world?
I would like to see that
You know
actress
what?
strip all day long, but in that scene, no.
You know what? If there was a belly dancing spider at the end of this movie, I would have been like, "This is the best summer movie ever." Just because it went that far
Oh, wait,
over the top.
when
to
you
be
say
ridiculous.
a belly dancing spider,
Yes, I mean
so
it's belly.
it's like the spider on his back, two legs, and doing like the shimmy thing.
He's
the
got
whole
like the
time?
two legs on the back that he's like shaking his head, and then the other two legs.
You
up.
guys should do Sausage Party 2 with that kind of thoughts.
No,
process.
what we've done is we've created an entire DeviantArt fan page just now.
All right. I don't even know how to. So we're already talking about her use of Enchantress as the villain, guys. Would you, without going to Sausage Party 2 or dancing?
Well, I haven't seen
robotic-
Sausage Party 2. I've seen the
I
first one.
haven't even seen Sausage Party 1 yet.
So what? For me, I liked the actress. I liked how she looked. I liked.
Did you like her interview that I sent to you?
I liked the costume, but it was just off. I don't know how else to explain. She looks like Wednesday from the Addams Family, like facially,
Minus the boobs.
minus the boobs. But other than that, other than having the look, I just didn't buy her as a bad guy.
You don't,
You know?
like Engelbauer said, you don't really have any background story for her or her brother, who's actually has, maybe 3 lines? Something like
Oh
that.
yeah, I mean the big
And-
thing is like now we have our villain and Enchantress, and she brings her brother back, and her brother doesn't make that big of a difference,
None.
and then all she's been doing this whole movie is belly dancing while being the best recycler of New York City and like creating a ball of garbage in the
Yeah.
air.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have any backstory for her. She doesn't really have much dialogue. Like, you kind of have a rough idea of the motive, but
Yeah.
that's kind of it.
I didn't even know she had a motive. I just thought, oh hey, I'm evil, I'm released. Fuck New York, fuck the world, whatever.
Well, no,
It's not much far off.
Well, no. Yeah, but, I mean, hers. She talked about it while she was in the thing. She says when she was talking to her brother, she's like, "Now man worships machines and instead of us," and
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
so
she gives a kind of like
Where
a
did that
brief
come from?
description thing. But yeah, like it's pretty bare bones in
yeah,
certain
it
regards.
was, and it was one of those things. And she was like, I mean, it was very. Like we were talking about, it was very quick. There was no backstory to it. There was just like,
Unmotivated.
welcome back, brother.
Mm.
We're in a different time. Man has now worshiping machines instead of us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which came out of nowhere. There's no worshiping of machines in this movie before that.
I also it's like a general thing, but I know what you're saying.
Define the character. That's
But-
writing.
To me, it almost feels like that this should have been. I'd rather have seen this as Suicide Squad 2. That way, at least you're emotionally invested in the character.
Like, kind of build up the characters beforehand.
Like
That way,
see her work with them and then have to turn on them would have been better.
Yeah, actually, I think that's a good point. I think
know.
this actually probably would have worked better. Almost, if you took like the first part of the film, had that in a previous film where you kind of have maybe a smaller plot line,
Yeah.
and then actually building up the backstory for this film,
Yeah.
and actually kind of being more detailed in it.
Yeah, because she would have formed bonds and friendships with them, and then she would have to find a way to.
Well,
turn
that, and I mean, you
Exactly.
also, one of the major plot points for this was like June Moon, Rick Flag relationship versus the Enchantress character and kind of the dynamic there, but you don't really build on it any.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, I think that, you know, what you guys are talking about actually would eliminate my whole, you know, the fact that this movie wouldn't exist if you didn't try to create a Suicide Squad. If there was something that motivated the reason to have a Suicide Squad, to like actually have a threat there to say, hey, we need some Fall Guys. We need this because this is here right now. Not the fact that, oh, these events happen in this other movie, buy our Blu-ray, and then, you know...
Something like another
Right.
country has their own sort of like superhero sort
Right,
of thing.
exactly. Something
That's
that gives them their plausible deniability.
something like
and
a
then they
weaker
make-
version of Dr. Manhattan.
Right, like, you know, they, in these 24 hours, say, hey, we have to get these people together, and Enchantress is part of that, and, like, you know, like you guys said, save it for Suicide Squad 2, that all this is out there, and then we have a deeper connection with the characters, you know, a more, you know, a better rounded story out of it. I mean, hate to say it, you guys have made a better Suicide Squad just by sitting here and thinking about this.
There you go.
So going back to the other question, yeah, the plot's probably a little worse now. We sat here
And
right now
came up
and
with
wrote a
something
better
better.
Suicide Squad than Suicide Squad.
I didn't put them in the notes, and we didn't talk about them last time, but I do want to talk about them this time. Flag. What did you guys think of Flag, Brian? Like,
He's kind of boring and one-dimensional.
Yep.
yeah,
I'm a soldier.
like I
Well,
wanted.
he did make your best
But
favorite line.
here's-
And he
so.
did make my favorite line because he was not a convincing soldier at all.
But here's the thing. I wanted to like just go. Like part of me was like, yeah, I want to go and strangle him, but he almost played it so well, I couldn't hate him. Does that make any sense to me?
Well, you know what's funny is that he reminded me of like G.I. Joe.
Yeah, that I
I mean,
think
like
that's why I
Channing
couldn't
Tatum,
hate
G.I.
him.
Joe, or
He reminded
Yeah.
me of Duke from G.I. Joe. I can't
Yeah.
hate Duke from G.I.
Yeah,
Joe.
and that's kind of what it felt like. Like it was like he's the good guy, keeping them all
that's-
together. But it
Yeah,
was like we didn't get any kind of development out of him.
That's
Well,
the
he's
thing,
like
you
their
know,
assistant
that's-
manager. That is his role in this film.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's a difference between, like you say, like the Duke G.I. Joe versus like the Bradley Cooper of American Sniper. You can make a good soldier and make them well defined and make them a good character and not have to make them so bland and generic as, you know, hey, he's token soldier guy that happens to have a connection, but give him the deeper connection in
Yeah.
June Moon, which again, like you guys said, we can strengthen that relationship
Yeah,
in
they
this
really could've
movie.
built on
we
it
can
way more heavily.
work on it. They had no foresight into this movie.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's move on. Soundtrack. What's in the movie versus what was actually released? What was in the movie I thought was pretty damn good, like the actual
Yeah.
use of the music, and then but what was released was crap. Other than maybe 21 Pilots song
There's
and a few
like
maybe,
2 to 3 songs
What's
on the
on our
actual
intro?
soundtrack that are okay.
Yeah, our actual intro song, which I used. I like that one. Other than
All
that,
of my
Um,
exes live
There's
in
also that one
Texas.
female-led song, the "You Don't Own Me" one. That one's actually pretty good too.
okay.
Yep.
The original one, not like the one that's
But
remade.
I liked how they used House of the Rising Sun. I mean, I know John will have a rebuttal to this, but I liked how it set the tone right off the going into the movie. I liked, but probably because I have an emotional.
It's
connection
because it's
to
a
the
great
and
song.
I-
It's just a great song.
Yeah.
It's one of those songs like you put it in anything.
But
You're
he's
like,
in-
oh,
he's
I
in-
feel good. I love
But
this
he
song.
is
I'll
in
watch
jail,
it.
and it is New Orleans, so I kind of saw the very loose.
It's not a whorehouse.
No,
That's the
it's
thing.
not.
House of the Rising Sun is about a completely different context.
But it's the same thing. He's
It's just a
trapped.
good song.
Yeah, but he's trapped. So.
I think from Brian's point, like it might not be there lyrically, like connected, but you can make somewhat connection just from the tone
Yeah,
that they were going
there
for.
you go.
And it's a good song, but I mean, at the same time, there's definitely songs they use that are a bit out of place in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, yeah, the songs that are actually in the film are much better than the soundtrack itself.
Yep.
Like Purple
Yes,
Lamborghini
absolutely.
is a fucking horrible song.
I agree. And the remake of whatchamacallit by Nirvana, oh my god, I want to strangle those people. It's like...
I don't even remember that
Dude,
one.
Is it worse than the remake of the Ghostbusters theme on the Ghostbusters soundtrack?
Yes, it is.
Oh my god,
Oh.
I have to hear this train wreck.
Yeah, it's a train wreck and then some, fellas. It's like somebody took that song and just started prancing around with it. That's not Nirvana. Anyway,
Well, the funny thing is, like, if you look at the Defenders coming up for the Netflix show, they actually do a modified version of the Nirvana song.
that works.
and it sounds so fucking
Well,
amazing
that's
just
be-
for like the title intro.
well, that's because it's dark.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
like it's just like a slowed down version of the song, which is
Well,
almost all it really is.
Brian had originally asked that we use that as our original opening, like for the flagship show, which we don't really do anymore. And he brought it up then. That's an awesome song. But getting back to the overall feel, Brian, how do you feel about the soundtrack overall?
I'm in the same boat as you. Like, the movie soundtrack in the movie was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, just the selection choices was every song I felt
Pretty much
was good.
Yeah.
Whether it changed our viewpoint of the scene or not, some of it yes, some of it no, but every song in there felt good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, if they release this soundtrack, this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they release the soundtrack, and it's like, I didn't hear that in that movie.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that in that movie.
Right.
I didn't hear this in that movie.
Uh-huh.
What the hell is this?
Right.
Yeah, it's
I
a
think-
soundtrack for a completely different movie.
You know what? I
it's
really
a soundtrack for the original film. that
yeah,
they
like the
recut.
original cut before Batman v Superman came out. They're like, oh, people
And the
didn't like
funny
how
thing
dark
is-
it was.
And I'm fine with dark movies. Like I like the Nolan version of Batman, which I think goes a little darker.
Oh, that's probably the darkest of the series.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I actually kind of supported like this being a darker film, but then like I hate the fucking soundtrack to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like for the the
I
soundtrack
mean,
they
the
released
release
on CD.
soundtrack. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So like if that's like the actual soundtrack for what the original cut was, like I kind of think I might be
Like
okay with
this
some
cut,
of the
yeah.
changes.
You know, and something we talked about before, and it's actually in the notes here.
Mm-hmm.
You wrote, "Was this the best soundtrack since Forrest Gump?" And holy shit, did I take offense to that in the notes because
It was to get you thinking, but yeah.
oh my
Apparently it
god,
worked.
did it get like the wrong things thinking because it got me thinking about everything that makes a great soundtrack. I mean, all of us, we grew up in the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, the 90s, I hate to say it, like between the 80s and the 90s, those were the heydays of soundtracks. We got like records, and then the 90s gave us CDs, and you had to buy the CD because it was either music inspired by the motion picture of, or music from the motion picture, or the soundtrack. You had at least
Quick
three
question:
CDs.
do you think music inspired by the motion picture is a bit of a cop out? It's just like
It really
here's a
is.
song.
It is the
We're just
biggest
throwing it
cop
in.
out. It was we want to sell a CD. Here are the artists that are somewhat big on the pop charts right now, and let's get this CD out there so you think about our
Yeah,
movie.
that kind of started
But-
with '89 Batman, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, well,
yeah.
but you know, they actually asked for Prince to be more of an influence
Kiss
in the
from a
film.
Rose.
Oh my god! I mean, as corny as the Batman Forever soundtrack is, it's a really great soundtrack. I mean, I wouldn't have ever heard of Nick Cave had it not been for the Batman Forever soundtrack. And Nick Cave is a fucking phenomenal musician. But and like you were saying, I mean, there was the soundtrack that we got in this movie, which should have been the release soundtrack. But then the soundtrack that's currently out there right now on iTunes is complete garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the
It's
thing is,
retread.
and it made me think because you had two different cuts of this movie. You had the cut that was ready for release, and then the Batman v Superman debacle came up, which I'm never going to call it Batman versus Superman because the poster, fucking, that was a misprint. Like they actually said that was a misprint, and it's Batman v Superman. It sounds like a goddamn court case. So that came out, and everyone got up in arms, and they're like, oh, we need to make Suicide Squad a little lighter. And then there's all this talk about we're going back for reshoots, we're going to do the re-edits. I mean, like you said about House of the Rising Sun, I mean, I guarantee you that was an afterthought after
Oh, yeah.
Batman v Superman.
Definitely
Like
was.
all these songs that every one of us
like,
loved.
all the poppy
So you think it
songs were-
originally started with Purple Lamborghini?
I literally
I
think it
probably
started
do.
with Purple Lamborghini. I mean,
Hear that
Joker,
word,
the
that
Joker
is-
for Life was a clear indication that this was meant to be more of an
Also,
urban
one of the funny
inspired
things
film.
is like the Joker's car in this actually isn't a Lamborghini, right? Like it's just
No, it
a-
is.
Oh,
It is.
Really, I thought it was a car
is.
that was similar to a Lamborghini.
It's a Lamborghini, so
Okay.
it probably was like a Joker Lamborghini. But the artist thought, "Hey, I'm clever." No, you're not. But okay, I mean, if you guys will indulge me for just a second, I did actually write out a quick list. Is this the best since Forrest Gump? Here's a quick list of all the
I
soundtracks
just
that are.
assumed you were going to do this as like a standalone video. Okay. Go
Okay,
ahead.
this is a quick list of every soundtrack that has come out between Forrest Gump and Suicide Squad that is better than Suicide
All
Squad.
right, make it quick. All right.
Pulp Fiction, Batman Forever, William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, Scream, Space Jam, Trainspotting, Boogie Nights, Good Will Hunting, Rushmore, Go, Magnolia, South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, Almost Famous, High Fidelity, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, Moulin Rouge, About a Boy, 8 Mile, Lost in Translation, Garden State, Once, Slumdog Millionaire, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Drive, and Guardians of the Galaxy.
All right. All right.
Wait,
all right,
Garden
cut.
State? Garden State did not have.
Fuck
that.
you, Garden State had a great soundtrack. I own that CD.
Okay,
That's a good
oh,
soundtrack.
All right. I only got one thing that I'm just going to bring up. Space Jam.
Yes!
You know what? I'm actually going to agree with him on that. But that
Space
I grew
Jam
up
is
with
a
it,
better
so-
soundtrack. I Believe I Can Fly is a lot more enduring than any other song that was released on this album.
Wait. You're telling me, welcome to the jam, the Space Jam, blah, 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 blah. Was a great song?
I'm gonna... who was
I
it?
actually like that song.
Yeah. I'm gonna fly like an eagle. 96.
Once again, I grew
How
up
many
with that,
weeks...
so.
How many weeks
It
did the
might not be a
Space
great
Jam
song, but I
soundtrack
know.
rule the radio with 2 songs versus everything from the Suicide Squad?
Oh, man.
Though I can't remember any other song except those 2 songs.
Exactly. That mean, you don't need anything else other than those 2 songs.
Yeah, but 2 songs
don't
is not a
make-
soundtrack.
Yeah, 2 songs.
But
don't
in
make
the
a soundtrack.
90s, it did.
Because if that's the case, then this one has 21 Pilots, and that's a
Okay,
pretty good song.
how many songs do you remember from the Dangerous Minds soundtrack other than the Coolio song?
I don't.
Exactly.
I don't
And that is
remember
one of
the
the
Why
Coolio
is
highest...
that a
song.
point?
Because that is one of the highest selling soundtracks of all time. That is in the top 10.
Okay, what is the
So they bought
Coolio
it for one
song?
song.
They did buy it
one-
for one song.
Yeah,
Right, but that
but
doesn't
what
make
is
it a
the
great
song?
soundtrack.
You don't
No,
know
but
it?
it's one of the most.
No.
It's one of the most successful soundtracks.
the whole Gangster's Paradise.
Exactly.
Is that what that
Living
is?
all our
Yeah.
lives.
Was that
But-
on the
I've
soundtrack?
I've been spending most of
No, I know the
life
song,
living
but I
against
didn't know
this
the
You
soundtrack.
can't
paradise.
base how great a soundtrack is how many albums it sells.
So we can't based on the greatness based on popularity.
Right, because you already said that you can't do that for a movie with how much money it makes, because otherwise Transformers
Well, don't get me wrong,
would
it's
be
all
fantastic.
subjective, right?
It is
Right,
very
because how mu-
subjective, yeah.
looked
But
how much money it made.
the point we're talking about is it a great soundtrack based on 2 songs? I'm saying those 2 songs on the album had more of a longevity and actually probably created more of a success for Space Jam than any of the songs on this soundtrack.
Okay. All right. I'm just saying. All right. I don't have a problem with that list except for Space Jam. I'm like.
But you've got plenty of others to pick from on there.
No, okay. All right. All right. Fair enough. All right. Let's move on, gentlemen. Okay. Batman's use in the movie. Good, bad, or
Good.
different? Aaron, it's good. Why is it good?
Good. It's brief. It's to the point. It utilizes the character effectively.
Okay. So, wouldn't have liked to see more of him? No.
No, I think they did fine.
Okay.
Like, I mean, it's enough to where you're interested in the character, like, as actually Batman. Like, don't get me wrong, like, you do have that slightly in Batman vs. Superman, but you don't really see him fighting crime to the same extent as you do just here with supervillain. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think it does it fine.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah,
Brian?
I think it was perfect use of Batman in this movie. What it did was it allowed people who don't know anything about comics to connect the two.
Okay.
So then you realized who these people were that you're watching, the Suicide Squad, or, oh, they're connected to there. And then you see the Flash catch the other one, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. These are the bad guys from the Batman and Superman movies.
Also, it's
I
enough
get it.
Batman for WB to just be happy.
Right, exactly. It didn't.
Exactly,
It didn't feel like, because you remember when they came out and they said they were doing they did Man of Steel, right? And they were going to do a Man of Steel Batman movie, right? And it was the Batman logo with the Superman logo in the center, and then all of a sudden everybody came out with this. Oh, great! Now we're going to have Batman v Wonder Woman and Batman v, because Batman is their big seller. They're going to push
Yeah.
him in every movie.
Which, to be fair, first came out in I Am Legend.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. So they, they were going to push. Everybody felt like they were just going to push Batman on us
Yeah.
in every movie that came out.
Yeah.
Well, just to see him in this little bit in the movie,
Yeah.
just to connect the universe, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think was perfect.
Yeah.
They did it perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. John?
You know, actually, yeah, that it was just the amount of amount of heroism needed in this movie.
Yeah.
You know, not just the use of Batman, because we've seen him interacting with the characters in the scene. Had he been in there anymore, we would have wondered, why the hell aren't you in New York City? You're across the river from Metropolis. Why aren't you across the river from New York City? No, I mean, it was the perfect use for him, and we got like the little touches, like you said. We had enough of the Flash, we had enough of Batman, and we even had enough of Superman, because as freaking forced as I thought it was that the guy was holding up the Superman shirt and then turns it around and goes, "Remember," or whatever the hell's on the back of it.
Yeah.
it was enough to make you feel like it was part of the universe. And
Well, yeah,
actually,
we got to see the Superman funeral too.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
arguably was probably the most gratifying as far as comic books in this movie. Like, it's the most that you felt that there was a connected universe. Did it feel like a marketing ploy of the studio? Yes, but it was enough. But had it been any more, it would have really felt forced.
Probably. The best they used Batman twice, but I loved how they used him in both scenes, especially the Harley Quinn scene and her saying "You're ruining date night,"
Date
night.
and how he tries to save her. And
Well,
brings her
technically
back.
3 if we think of the post-credit scene.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at like the Deadshot scene with him, they utilize him really well there. Like the whole
That
That
not
was
in front of
actually a fantastic scene.
the whole not in front of your daughter thing. Like,
Right.
Yeah. That
Oh
was,
my God, that
that was really fucking good.
That's probably one of the reasons I love Deadshot as much as I did, was because of that scene alone.
Well, it makes him human.
Yeah.
He goes from being a cold blood, stone cold blood killer to somebody who's a father. We
Right.
can all, most of us can relate. So
Yeah.
anyway,
3 of the 4.
3 out of
Midwest guys.
3 out of the 4.
3 of the 4 Midwest guys agree. He is relatable because of that scene.
I mean, it is a very humanizing moment, even if you don't
And the
have
fourth
kids.
one agrees only because he's a killer.
And besides, if mother has her way, you'll have
What
a
don't-
kid someday. Or,
I'm
don't we know
planning for
about
that
you, Aaron?
vasectomy, so it should be good.
yep. All right.
So thank you for reminding me. I do need another deep freezer.
Oh, you need some children now. You can't get away from this on your little podcast or your radio show.
All
That's
right.
the weirdest impersonation of my mother.
Yeah, that's,
I'm sorry.
that's about as far off Colleen as you're gonna get. All right.
I just turned your guys' mom into like the Jewish mother.
You turned her into frickin' Edith from Archie Bunker.
Yeah.
Archie. All right. So
I am so sorry.
yes.
No,
You
it's
should've
fine.
done
It's just I didn't make the connection there.
Mom is definitely not Edith. Anyway, did the Joker
Moving on.
did the Joker Harley chemistry work for you, John?
No.
No?
If only
Okay.
because it was something I posted on my Facebook timeline a little bit today. It's the fact that the Joker-Harley relationship was always meant to be one of tragedy. Like, this was when you watch your best friend in an abusive relationship, and you're like, oh my god, why are you with this guy? He's the worst thing for you. But they are so in love that, they can't see it, the blindness from their own perspective. And there wasn't enough scenes of that. I mean, dear God, every like girl's gonna like go out there and cosplay Harley Quinn from this movie. She is not gonna understand the.
Well, Quinn
depth
was a
of this
popular
character.
cosplay character to begin.
Oh yeah,
with.
she was always a great, popular cosplay, but
Same thing with like Deadpool. Like even before the movie came out, it was a popular.
but nowadays
choice.
it's going to be more of the thing to wear the booty shorts and not know anything about the character.
Well, I mean, you're going to have probably a variety of it because you have also the Arkham games and the standalone comics, and so there's probably going to be a variety of costumes.
And as we've seen, like, actually I think that's one of the cool things about the gap we've had from the previous recording to now is now they've actually publicly released the fact that there was a scene in which the Joker was going to, like, try to execute Harley in a scene. Which, I hate to say it, this movie needed that. If anything, in order to, like, give, like, a good realistic comic portrayal of the Joker-Harley relationship.
Well, I mean, even in the
Because-
animated series, like he pushed Harley out of a window, a couple
which was
times.
one of their best episodes ever because it was. Because I hate to say it, a lot of us when we watched it, we were like either teens or preteens. This show was fucking shocking. I don't think a lot lot of us realize it until we
it's
watch it
moments,
again.
yeah.
Not at the time.
But yeah, no, like if we watch that, that's
Like,
one of
if
the
you look
episodes
at,
that's like incredibly like heartbreaking to watch. You're like, there she is, like practically like this abused figure laying on the ground, shoved out a window, laying in garbage, going, "I didn't get the joke," and you're like, leave this fucking asshole.
Yeah, but I mean, I think
I never said anything like that watching cartoons.
no, you don't because you don't think about it. But
No,
you
I didn't.
watch it knowing people like that
And
as you
I
get
don't
older.
think I don't think this movie didn't need that.
No.
But it definitely needed something different than this thug Joker that pimped out his girlfriend.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
what it reminded me of is one of those couples that likes to fight because they like to have makeup sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they. It doesn't matter what it is. It's like, oh, you brought me Gatorade. You didn't bring me the right Gatorade. Blah blah blah, blah. And they blow it up because they like to have the makeup sex, and that's kind of like what it felt like.
So you mean like the neighbors in our first floor apartment, like our first
Right,
apartment?
correct. When you guys were in your first apartment.
Holy
like
shit!
that.
Like there was a time, like I actually like thought I heard like pounding on the wall downstairs. I was like, "What the hell is that noise?" And I actually like put my ear to the ground. I hear like her moaning. It was just thumping, and no joke. 5 minutes later, they're like fucking yelling at each other like it's like the goddamn apocalypse. And I'm like, dude, you just got through having sex. What are you fighting like this for?
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's what it felt like to me. Like,
So the chemistry, did that work for you? Or
no,
No.
the chemistry in this one didn't work.
Okay.
For that reason, like it was just well, for the other reason, it was just felt real choppy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought the whole Harley. Her portrayal was all good all the way through the whole thing, but her scenes with the Joker,
Yeah.
I didn't buy it because I didn't see enough of the Joker.
Right.
So the chemistry wasn't there. I don't want to see more of the Joker, so that's right.
So we don't need the chemistry.
We don't need the chemistry.
Yeah.
Okay. Aaron, what'd you think?
I wasn't a big fan of the relationship just because in more traditional like Batman animated series and eventually the comics, you do see like the Joker kind of convince her to his side, whereas this one you just see her more or less get shock treatment until her brain's fried. And
I was going to
kinda-
say, there is violence there.
Oh yeah, there
between the
definitely
two.
is. And in terms of the abusive relationship thing, I think that's where Harley's story arc has to begin. Like she is desperately in love with someone that is abusive.
Yeah.
Like that's the character. Like that's where she begins, and that's her transition away from that
It's a
relationship.
psychiatrist that falls in love with her patient,
Yeah.
for God's sakes, who's a violent criminal.
Oh yeah, and
Beyond
it's
violent,
an
yeah.
interesting concept, especially like you look at the animated series and the comics, where you see her, the Joker, bring out a side of her that she enjoys, that she's bored with the mundane life, and that's exciting for her, and that it's a part of her character that she didn't know she had.
You know, and speaking of the fact of the animated series, which, by the way, this character wasn't created in the comics until after the animated series because she was that popular of a character from the show. The show did such a great job of developing her because at first she was just arm candy, and then she had some kind of standalone episodes. There were some great episodes where she teams up with Poison Ivy.
Yeah, that is
and
actually
then-
one of the best episodes.
Oh my
of
god,
that.
it's a great episode. It's like, holy crap, if Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn teamed up, they could beat the Batman had it not been for Harley's attachment to the Joker. Or the other episode in which Harley actually tries to go straight and be a normal person. And then the entire society just says, no, we remember you as Harley. And oh my god, it has one of my my favorite Harley delivery line in which she's fighting with Batman on her roof and she's talking about everything she did that day. She's like, and they wouldn't let me keep my dress, and I actually paid for it. And then even in the end, she's taken back to Arkham, and Batman even feels pity for her. He goes, I had a bad day too once, and she's like, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, they do such a great job developing Harley in the animated series.
Yeah, it was-
Better. than
Well, it was
this.
definitely like a Thelma and Louise kind of thing between her and Ivy. Is what they were. That's exactly what it was.
It is kind of
It really
based off
was,
that
yeah.
a little bit. And even if you go to the standalone comics, they kind of develop the relationship a little more, and you do see them being characters that kind of get along well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's a natural starting point for Harley Quinn, and I really hope the movies kind of take a cue from the comics and have her kind of move away from the Joker later on.
Yeah. The only other thing I'll add about the chemistry, and the only scene I liked with the Joker in it was the acid bath scene. Despite the part of him standing up after he dives into the acid bath. But other than that, I liked that whole scene. I liked the dialogue between him and Harley, and showing how he's getting Harley to give up everything, including her life, to jump into a bath of
after
acid.
shock treatment, but yeah.
Yeah, but still,
Her mind might be a little fuzzy still.
but still, that was the part that I said, yeah, that's the Joker and that's Harley Quinn to me. That whole
Was it
scene.
acid,
It looked like acid.
or was it like a glue?
It looked like acid to me.
Because
I mean,
I'm pretty sure.
Visually, it's kind of gluey.
Because
storyline wise, it should be fucking acid.
right, but
Or some variant of a chemical.
Which she should have needed a surgeon afterwards too, if we're going to reference the Batman 1989 movie.
I was gonna say because it should have been more like we'll just say a chemical bath.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
Because
So
She's
if
in
you're
Axis
referencing like a
Chemicals that was
Killing
blown
Joke,
the
which that's
fuck
based
up in
on,
that
it
movie.
is more just a chemical thing.
yeah, because if it was acid,
But I like
Yeah.
that. I like that whole scene, even the visual stuff with the blue and the
yeah,
red. And
And the visuals
like
cool, yeah.
like the
Yeah.
dive in was cool, but like I mentioned on our
It's good for the
previous recording
right
with
Take
the
on, yeah.
with the whole like all of a sudden he's standing up holding her. How the hell is that possible?
I know.
How
You
tall is this vat?
you dove from 30 to 40 feet in the air
I get it.
into a vat that you can stand up in.
And there should have been an OSHA sign on the sign that says "No diving into tank of acid."
Yeah,
But still, I thought for a brief moment that was good chemistry between the two. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking.
so
too
you
Well, okay.
so you thought the scene with the chemical was a good chemistry?
yes, I
That's
did.
interesting.
You know what? Here's the thing. It was a beautifully shot moment that contextually made absolutely no goddamn sense whatsoever.
I don't think so. He was getting her to give up everything for him. That was part of the brainwashing.
It's part of the backstory.
Yes and no, but here's the other thing too: is if you didn't know Batman from 1989, you wouldn't have gotten that. And if this is a Batman, universe meant for this generation, how many people went out and actually looked up who Birdman played before this?
I don't know. I can't answer that, but that's an impossible
Well,
question
I
to answer.
mean,
But
as probably one of the younger people here and who falls in the millennial category, it is a reference you would get just because they have had standalone movies, or if you read any of the comics, or it might not be something necessarily someone who's not a fan of the genre would pick up on,
Yeah.
but if you are, you probably would.
Oh my God, you're a millennial.
Yeah, I am.
This is gonna like play into so much fodder from the
Yep,
future
higher
podcasts.
productivity, lower pay rate.
if I remember right, you said you technically are too, John, aren't you?
Am I?
I think you just.
I think I'm on. I think I'm on the
make
cusp. I mean, I'm on like kind of the gray area. there.
You're still Generation Y.
Then can you? Do I live in the kind of lifestyle that I don't know.
I won't answer that, but anyway.
I'm not going to divulge too much personal information on this podcast.
All right, standalone movie for Harley or Deadshot or somebody else, Brian,
Yeah, I could stand to see a Harley or Deadshot
or
movie.
Deadshot. Okay.
Yeah,
All right, that's fair. Aaron.
I'd like to see a Harley Quinn standalone.
Yeah, I would too. Actually,
like-
after seeing this performance.
Yeah, like I
would
said,
too.
I always feel like this is kind of the beginning of Harley Quinn's kind of story arc, and kind of see that develop, and kind of take a more relationship approach to comic book movies would be kind of interesting take on it.
Okay, John, what do you think?
This wasn't.
Well, it kind of was. I mean, it was a
I remember from the
Deadshot
last-
and Harley. It kind of stole the show. Yeah.
I mean, I remember from the last podcast. That's what I said. It's like
Yeah.
this wasn't. I mean, because that's all I got out of this was Deadshot. This was Harley, and everybody else is like, yeah, we're in your guys' movie.
yeah. I would actually like to see Harley and like Poison Ivy, kind of like what you guys were talking about earlier. That would be pretty cool if done right.
Actually, yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool,
That'd be
and also be just great to reintroduce Poison Ivy in the universe, because the only
Yeah.
one we've actually seen on film is from Batman Forever, right?
Although-
Like the Uma Thurman one.
Although that's
Yep.
she's still pretty hot in that. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a very sexy Poison Ivy, and I actually, between the last podcast and now, I actually had a chance to work with Alicia Silverstone on set.
Oh, they Batgirl. So maybe down the line after they introduce Batgirl in another movie, I don't know, but I would like to see maybe an all-girl,
Yeah,
superhero and villain movie. Maybe.
yeah.
What would actually be kind of neat is develop. If we had a standalone Harley film, have that an extended episode of that one where she did try to be go straight.
Well, I don't know if you need to extend an animated series episode, but yeah, you can definitely
I
take
think that'd be
things
a
from
great
it.
episode just for her character.
What about? I'll throw this out here real quick. What about the? I can't remember where it came from. Somebody mentioned it. That maybe it's the comics, but apparently in the comics she has a girl and it's Joker's kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
mentioned. I don't know if they necessarily show her in the
Yeah.
comics, but it is referenced
Yeah.
that she had one.
And she did always
Also,
wanna
in this
have-
film, you actually see two
Yeah.
points where she's fantasizing about having twins.
And actually, I got to bring that up. That's actually one of my favorite moments of the movie because that actually was the most it felt like Harley, because that's what Harley Quinzel wanted, was a normal life with the Joker, with kids.
Well, and the funny thing is, like, that scene where Joker's surrounded by knives, you actually do see 2 different colored baby onesies, like, in the corner.
Yeah.
Huh.
So it actually is kind of hinting that she might be pregnant at some point.
Oh.
Or was at one point.
Define this shit!
Yeah,
we
it-
need something
it-
more than the corner frame!
Yeah, it's a subtle little thing, actually. And
No, it's not subtle enough! It's
No, that-
too subtle!
Oh, well, that's actually... I'm not against that. It's one of the few times it actually does something subtly, and it's like, oh, yeah, good for
You're
you.
not a subtle movie! You can't de-subtle all of a sudden.
It's not...
easy.
I think subtlety is fine. I think DC can do a little more of it.
I love subtlety. You need more subtlety in DC. Know when subtlety is needed.
All right, so moving on. Was Captain Boomerang and Slipknot really needed in this movie? Yes, no.
Kinda. I think Captain Boomerang you can definitely make an argument for, especially if you want to set him up for, like, have any role in any of the Flash films or Justice League stuff. Slipknot, he's there to prove the device blows up. Even though you really could have just used, like, a training dummy to prove it.
Yeah. See, I would have actually liked to see more Slipknot than Boomerang. I know Boomerang was trying to be the comic relief.
Yeah, they
but
were trying to make him more Deadpool-ish.
Yeah, but I thought that failed pretty miserably.
I don't know. I found his obsession with the pink unicorn a little amusing.
Slightly,
was funny. I
Slightly
like that.
funny, but I just...
Also, it gives a justification for why he takes off in the bar scene. He just wants to hang out with his unicorn.
I know.
And then he's back, like, a scene later.
He just annoyed me. I mean, from the moment I saw him to the moment he used his boomerang one time as a camera, and
Yeah.
other than in the first part where he's robbing banks.
Yeah, they definitely could have definitely used the character better.
What the? He just didn't need to be there. I don't know, Brian. Did you like Boomerang?
Yeah, I like Boomerang. I think they should have used him more. He needed to use more of his boomerangs.
Yeah.
I felt like he was using his boomerangs more as a knife
Yeah.
Yeah,
than,
absolutely.
than a boomerang.
yeah.
But like he is one of the big villains for the Flash.
Yeah.
So I think it needed to be like I liked how they showed the Flash as the one that caught him,
Yeah.
and I liked he was using the boomerang in the beginning, and then he used it at the end with one of the camera because that was one of the ones he had. Like even when you're watching the cartoon series, there's an episode with him and he uses it, but he needed to be utilized a little more than that. I did like when he was messing with Slipknot and he's like, this isn't real. Those things on her neck don't really work.
Yeah.
Whatever. And he was-
He's what prompts Slipknot to
yeah,
get killed.
and Slipknot goes, seriously? And he's like, yeah.
Oh my god, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
zipping out
yeah,
of here.
Yeah, it doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. And he
it's
goes,
all psychological.
and he's like, okay, goes up, and as soon as he gets up there, he's like, boom, he goes, guess they're real. It was funny. It was just one of those, like, but he needed to be utilized a little more than
I
what
think
he
we can
was.
say that about a lot of the characters, actually. Like, you look at Katana, you see some backstory for her, not a whole lot, but it's an interesting character. And you look at Diablo, kind of the same thing. Killer Croc, kind of more or less the same.
Yeah, well, the other part, like with Katana, is Katana a bad guy or a good guy?
She's kind of a good guy.
She's with the Suicide Squad.
Well, yeah, but she's like in the management role with the flag.
But exactly. But it was like, but then
She's the assistant system manager.
yeah, she's the assistant system manager. Was like, well,
I was actually just talking to somebody about that today. Katana's presence, like the moment she showed up, I actually think was the moment Warner Brothers realized, oh shit, we need foreign domestic sales on this movie.
That's exactly what I
Yeah, I mean, she showed up like right when they realized, hey, we need international ticket sales. Hey, here's this awesome character. We bring her in halfway through the movie and give her very little backstory.
I thought it was kind of cool with the whole sword thing. I would have liked a little bit more.
There was actually one of the Batman cartoons that actually had her almost as like Batman's sidekick. It was actually kind of a weird take
I
on
can
it,
see
but
that because Batman's a samurai kind of character, kind of sort of.
Trained in
Ninjas,
Japan,
yeah.
and a guy
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Um,
But yeah, so that actually
Actually-
was the next question. So
well, actually, I was mentioned about Captain Boomerang.
yeah,
That's the thing about Captain Boomerang is, like you were saying, Brian, he's a great villain for the Flash. The Flash has kind of a weird, like, rogues gallery of villains, but if you have them portrayed in the right light, you realize why they're a villain for the Flash. They brought to mind more of the Frank Miller mentality of, oh, he's a goofy villain, he's a doofus, oh, let's make fun of him, oh, he doesn't need to be, taken seriously until you killed Tim Drake's father. Which, I hate to say it, is a terrible plot line for Captain Boomerang, but, and again, that's, I and I keep harping on it because the mentality of Frank Miller needs to die cinematically.
I don't think
Captain Boomerang.
I think there's
needs-
elements that work well for it. Not
There's
everything.
elements that work well, but there's too much that's being adhered to, like it's like fucking religion.
Well, yeah, I agree
But that's,
with that, but-
I mean,
Well, I think
really
that's-
look at the body of work of Frank Miller. Until you have read All-Star Batman and Robin and Holy Terror, you do not know the depths of how deep Frank Miller
Well,
can
yeah,
sink.
but I mean that's like pointing out like an artist's like worst work and being like that is the sum of their career.
But no, I mean, this is an artist that actually stand behind it and actually
I
created
understand.
himself. This was like his personal influences of, himself. I mean, he's presented himself as the crazy uncle that at family reunions, everyone keeps their kids
Oh yeah,
away
he's
from.
kind of that way. But I mean, look at Alan Moore as a character or as an
Yeah.
individual. He's kind of out there too. Don't
He's
get me wrong,
out there.
I think
He's created
brilliant,
one of the
but-
greatest, achievements in, well, I can't say comic book, graphic novel history. But, Captain Boomerang is somebody that, if you develop well, would be an excellent addition to the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
But they chose to develop the, oh, you're too goofy, we don't need to take
Well,
you
I think they
seriously,
kind
and
of-
rush him to the side
I
mentality
think
of his character.
part of that is they wanted to make the film a bit more lighthearted as well.
Right, and they needed
Well-
comic relief.
Yeah, and they did that partially for the character.
You could still do it well, but not make him a doofus.
Well, I think they just picked his character to be the comic relief.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
It was like I almost wonder if he was part of the reshoots where it wasn't done, and then all of a sudden they're like, "All right, well, we need to pick a character. We're gonna pick Boomerang to be the comic relief. So we're gonna give him a pink unicorn, and we're gonna give him, this line, or we're gonna have him drink a beer behind a car.
You know what? Or give him something better to do in the final fight at the end. I mean,
I like the one line they used from Croc as comic relief. I thought, I'm beautiful. I would like to see more of that.
Yeah.
I think he worked better. I actually like that version of Croc, too. So.
Yeah, actually, I wasn't expecting to like that version of Croc, but
Yeah.
it actually works really well for the character.
Yeah,
I actually wanted a reference where he talked about hitting someone with a rock. I thought that would have been funny. Which is one of the best lines of the cartoon of all time.
well, yeah, because he's the monster, and it would have been nice to see the monster, be human.
It was a big rock.
Something. I don't know. All right, so we kind of talked about it a little bit, more or less of Katana in this movie, real quick, guys.
Yes.
Aaron, yes, okay. Brian, would you like more Katana, maybe?
Yeah, she could have been in a little bit more.
Yeah.
At least with the backstory and stuff.
Yeah.
So we could actually, because if you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't know that her sword captures the souls.
Yeah, that's true.
The people she kills. So it was one of those like you catch it if you're really paying attention. If you're not, you're just going through the thing. You see that that's the sword that was used to kill her husband,
Yeah.
and now she uses it to kill people.
Right. And that her husband's soul was in there. Or something.
Yeah, and then she talks to the sword.
Right. Right.
That's what you get if you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could have used a little more of Katana.
Okay, that's fair. John?
I thought it would have been neat to have seen a backstory of her and Mako and Pacific Rim actually piloting a Jaeger together, because that's actually the kind of the the image I got of, not the image, but just I kind of saw her character a lot like Rinko Kikuchi's character in Pacific Rim. I thought that would have been I don't know. That's just me being weird. But, yeah, she definitely needed to be more in there. I mean, if you're going to give everybody else in Suicide Squad, their own backstory in the first 15 minutes of the movie, give her a backstory. Don't just, throw her on the helicopter right as they're about to go into the plot.
Right.
So just, yeah, there needed to be more of her if she's going to be a part of this universe.
Yeah, I think she. I would like to see a lot more of her. I think, like I said, I wouldn't mind seeing. I don't know if I want to stand alone with her, but I wouldn't mind seeing her maybe team up in another Suicide Squad or some other DC.
Well, yeah, like
DCU.
Since
property.
we didn't get a really deep backstory on this one, like maybe in the next Suicide Squad when they're showing,
Yeah.
they're sitting somewhere and she starts talking about, and they show a flashback. That would work.
Yeah, I think so. I think having maybe her talk a little English wouldn't.
Or, that's another thing I thought of. Maybe she could just basically be a presence like Miho in Sin City. If we're going to go Frank Miller, let's just make her like Miho in Sin City, where she's, jumping off of the roof with, 2 samurai swords in her hand and, killing people.
Oh, I've never seen Sin City.
No, I never saw that one either.
Holy crap, we're talking about, Frank Miller-inspired stuff. That's, his biggest cinematic thing there. That's, the creme de la creme of, artist vision brought to life there.
Nah, gotcha. Okay, was the brother villain needed, John? Do you think it would need it?
No.
The brother villain wasn't needed?
No, he was essentially... He was the demon dogs from Ghostbusters. I mean, he's there to help the gate get opened.
I like
but
the
he's
Demon
gonna
Dogs
stand.
from Ghostbusters.
They're fucking. They're
They're
awesome.
cool characters.
But I mean, in
Also,
this respect,
without the brother character, you don't have that kind of like monster fight at the end.
but,
Don't get me wrong. I think the character could be developed better.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. Is the characters need to be developed better. We need to have Peter Venkman try to exorcise the demon dog out of this person.
Yeah.
All right. Brian. I got nothing.
That's an interesting concept that we could have done that, but no, I mean we needed to. It would have started in the beginning of the movie when we got the backstory for Enchantress. We would have actually seen the brother.
Yeah.
But seeing him come to life, and then all of a sudden it looks like almost like a CG version of the Scorpion King.
Yeah.
It is actually really similar.
I mean that's what it felt like
Or-
when I was
or
watching.
like
It
the,
felt like we were watching the Scorpion King. He wasn't the Scorpion King, but it was the
It was
same
a very
type.
similar Aztec
Or
style.
he's like the
Yes.
Sentinel from Thor that's like sent down to destroy that city. You know.
Kind of.
Yeah, it is similar to that as well.
But it just
Meet Shredder.
so it just felt off a little
Sir
bit.
Spikes a lot.
But if we didn't get him, then we wouldn't have seen Diablo be able to transform the way he did.
Yeah, that was kind of out of left field.
Yeah, but I
It was
thought
cool.
I thought it was badass.
I
It
make
was,
Diablo awesomer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was one of those things where the whole thing we're like, oh, that's pretty cool that Diablo can control fire and he can do this and that, and then you see him at the very end be able to do that, and you're like, holy shit,
You're a fucking
yeah.
demon.
He was really holding back this entire time.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was actually one. It played to like kind of Diablo's kind of storyline, where he's like, "I'm trying to be a bit more of a pacifist," and you have that whole tragic backstory of his family, and so you actually have motivation for the character.
But the
It was
family,
actually-
the tragic family backstory takes like second stage to Deadshots.
which is weird because it actually is a really well written storyline.
Better storyline,
Yeah, like it's actually one of the more well developed characters in the film, and
Yeah.
it really shows.
There needed to be more of him.
Well, there was three scenes I know of that got cut from him.
God
One-
damn it, DC.
One was the one where he actually was taken into that chamber and then hit with all that water right before they took him to be with the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
The second one was he was in the cell with a match, and he let the flame go out as he was saying, "I'm never going to do it again." He let the flame go out, that kind of symbolic stuff. And the other
Lawrence
one was when
Arabia.
they're at the bar,
The bar they should have kept.
and he
I
had
saw
and he
that.
had the
Yeah.
dancing flame underneath the shot glass.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'll have water," and she's like, "Yeah, water for you." It's like
Yeah, actually, that was
That's
a
a-
really
that's-
that would have been
That's a good idea.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like that was really awesome. How you actually see him kind of create that sort of like almost version of his wife in flames. Sort
Yeah,
of thing.
and
it
I
was
like that.
really
like,
well,
and-
beautiful too.
No, what was the best part about that was like the fact that as that flame is dying away, she looks like she's dying. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a
oh yeah,
tragic
yeah, and it
scene of
drops
her
to
there.
drops to her knees, and
I mean, that's
like
like,
she
the
was
emotion
dying.
of him. I mean,
And then you see the smoke, and that's actually
There's-
how she dies through smoke inhalation.
there is so much potential in this movie. There is so much good stuff they touched on that never got brought out.
Well, I think what would happen was if they put all the stuff in we wanted to be, it would have been so long that all of a sudden the critics wouldn't have liked it because of this and this and this. All of a sudden they've been like, oh, nope, it's too long.
Or what they would have done is they would have cut out the crap that made the critics hate it in the first place.
Well, I mean,
And
you can
actually
have
been a
long
better
movies
No,
that get
because
well
the crap
reviewed.
that
Like, look
crap
at
they
Lord of the
actually
Rings. Lord of the Rings is actually a really well reviewed movie, and it's
Exactly.
actually really fucking long.
And let's not forget that the fact that before this movie, like every DC, the other DC movies before this were, Nolan's Dark Knight movies or Nolan's Batman movies, and they were insanely well-reviewed movies.
Well,
Yeah, and
I
they-
think the other thing is you got to think of is that with Lord of the Rings, never been done before.
Well, it
So-
was
In
done by
anime,
Bakshi.
in live action form, yeah.
Right, exactly. So the critics are like, oh, this is great.
Not all
You know,
of them.
but
Not
you know-
all of them.
No, but you know what I'm saying. Like a lot of them were like, "Oh, this is great. This is fantastic." Blah blah blah. But when Warcraft came out, some of the reviews it got was, "This movie thinks it's Lord of the Rings, and it's not." And you know what I mean. And
Was
and,
Warcraft
The-
any
no,
good?
no. Warcraft's
Warcraft was awful.
So it was a bad movie. It's not just the
No,
fact that
I'm
it was
not-
trying to be Lord of the Rings.
No, but what I'm saying
But that's
is
not
is
the
that-
reviews.
Hold on,
Hold on,
what
hold
I'm-
on.
What I'm saying is that the critics, well, they use previous. That's why we're getting all this flack for all these DC movies, is because yes, there's some flaws in them, but there's flaws in a lot of movies. But you think we got the whole Dark Knight's trilogy, and we got a lot of the Marvel ones where they started they didn't hit it right at the very beginning, but they started getting it right, and we're like, oh, Marvel movies are great and everything else, and now DC isn't doing that, but it raised the standard of the critic and also flooded the market, and the critics like,
Well, yeah, but you can
I
actually
keep
make
seeing
the,
these superhero movies.
Okay,
Like,
I'll get to that a little bit
you
later.
can make the
but-
argument like the Dark Knight
Get to it
trilogy
now.
kind of set
Okay,
the stage
here's
for
the thing.
Marvel
Do it
Universe.
now.
Do you watch 2,000 movies in a year?
No, that's what
But
I'm
they
saying.
do. They do. They watch every
know they
fucking
do.
movie that's
That's my-
released,
that's
and
my
they're
point.
exhausted. They're fucking exhausted of
That's
all
what
these
I just
goddamn
said.
superhero
That's
movies.
what I just said.
But here's the thing: could they be as exhausted if they aren't developing? Here's the thing: what critics look for, they don't care about comics, they don't care about Marvel, they care about what they reference in other films. They don't reference other, comics because they don't read them. They watch the other movies and they don't. That's what they have. That's what they have is what came before in film, and they judge it based on previous films. And if we're gonna, I know this is a note for later on in our subject about the ratings of the film. They are going about it based on what they know as far as character development, as far as plot development, as far as symbolism, as far as what makes a good movie. And if we're going to touch on it, Suicide Squad is not a great movie, contextually. If you take out all the comic book aspects, it is not a well put together movie. And it is very flawed, that if it didn't have, the Warner Brothers DC Cinematic Universe attachment to it, there would not be that many people defending this movie as there are, because there are people defending it simply because they want to defend their favorite comic book storyline.
You got the fanboys who would defend it.
Oh yeah, but that's the problem is critics from Austin don't give a shit about what the critics from Seattle thought or the critics from Chicago thought, because they have to churn out a review because that's their goddamn job. They have to be told, hey, we need this review now. This is your deadline. You went to the screening at 10 o'clock at night. You came out at midnight. You have to have your review online at 2 a.m. at this time. I'm not going to fucking call everybody. I'm going to go based on what I know. Did the characters work? No. Did the plot work? No. But they gave it the reviews they did because it's not a great movie.
We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves again, but do you think...
You want me to go into it now?
We'll just throw it out there because I think it's relevant. Do you think that because the bar has been raised, though, because we've had The Dark Knight, because we've had Marvel movies that keep raising the bar and the level of what we consider to be a good comic book movie, do you think that that's the reason why it got such harsh ratings? Because the bar has been raised. If this had come out in, say, 2003, would it have gotten the same kind of grief that it's getting now? I would say no. I would say they would consider it an okay comic book movie.
And that's what I'm saying. There's no reason to get angry. We're saying the same thing. We're saying that it's because of the stuff that's come before that the critics are now saying, no, I've seen the Dark Knight trilogy, I've seen the other Marvel movies, and this and that.
We demand better.
We demand better.
We do.
We want better. Mm-hmm. Now, like you said, if this came out in 2003, we would have been like, holy shit, this movie was awesome.
Or it was at least decent. That's probably
It would have
I
gotten
think
a
this
passing
movie,
review.
I still
Yeah.
think this movie is decent.
I don't think it would have got the
But
33%.
No.
27, no.
Yeah.
Well, I think if we're going back to his analogy to the Wild Wild West film, it actually is kind of in that same category. It would have been kind of a fun summer blockbuster. It may not have been greatly well received critically, but it would have had some fans, and I think in 10, 15 years, we kind of would have moved on.
It definitely would have been better reviewed than Wild Wild West, I'll say that.
So, I mean, I think that's kind of, to your point, yeah, we're definitely living in internet culture where that's, definitely you have more reviews, you have that kind of echo chamber of thought, and we have previous films that have set the bar higher.
Yeah.
We do expect character development. We don't just expect just a random action flick. And that's kind of what it is. It's an action flick.
I'm going to say this right now. The best comic book movie out there, I mean, yeah, I'm a little harsh on the DC movies, but the best comic book movie ever made, flat out, is The Dark Knight.
Yeah, I don't have any argument there.
Because not only did it set a new standard for the way villains are portrayed, the way that comic book plots are, presented in a film, it also set a standard for subtext. And that is the icing on any cake that makes a critic send a movie be above, oh, this was a good movie, to this was one of the best movies, if not the best movie of the year. The subtext of The Dark Knight went so deep and so far into not just terrorism, but also how far are we willing to go to combat terrorism? I mean, this was a time in which we were concerned about wiretaps and, profiling and all this stuff. And The Dark Knight came out and just, put it right in our faces and made it about, who is the real hero here? Who is the hero we need? Who is the hero we deserve? I mean, it is one of the most perfect summer films, if not one of the most perfect films ever made. It really is one of my 25 favorite movies of all time. And if we're going to set the standard, if we're going to put it in the league of superhero films, if that is a 4-star film, based on that, Suicide Squad is a 2-star film at best, 2.5. I mean, is it fun? Yeah, it's a fun way to pass the time. But if if the Bryans are saying here, if this came out in 2003 and the Hulk came out that same summer, it would have been like, well, God, it's not the Hulk.
Essentially.
Precisely.
You could actually make that argument with either version of the Hulk, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very true, yes.
Although I really liked the second Hulk.
The Edward Norton Hulk is fun, and I hate to say
The Norton version is better.
And the other thing is was this movie, when they put it out, said, we're trying to make a great movie that's better than The Dark Knight?
I think every movie should try to be great.
I agree with you that every movie should. However,
No.
I don't think they were doing that with this movie.
No, and that's another question.
Well, it definitely does seem like DC is trying to... They're trying to keep the schedule here, more or less.
Yeah.
They're trying to make the brand recognition. They're trying to put themselves back in the film
and
universe.
that's the thing that gets me about Warner Brothers DC so far is the fact that every move that has been made since Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Suicide Squad it's so corporate.
And it's very reactionary as well.
Yeah, it's very reactionary. It's like a board of executives have made the creative decision instead of the directors, the writers, the producers. I mean, it's going so goddamn deep that they're just worried about how much back end are they making off this movie.
Well, I think, and this is another quick fire question, but I'll throw it out there because it's relevant to the conversation we're having here. To me, it's this movie is made for teenagers. This movie is more pop than it is adult. I felt like Batman v Superman was for the adults. Suicide Squad is for the teenagers. That it feels more poppy to me than it does.
Well, I will say Caitlin, she's 11.
Yeah,
Loved Suicide Squad.
yeah, it's chewing.
However,
Yeah.
she was okay with Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Like she didn't get a lot of the stuff. Like she had to ask me questions about Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Which are your two biggest characters in Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And
Oh god, your two biggest characters and
Caitlin,
iconic.
And Caitlin had to ask me about certain things with that.
Yeah.
But Suicide Squad, she has no idea about anything, and she watched it and she was like,
Yeah.
"Can we watch it again?"
Yeah, I
Like
can
she
see
really liked it. Because she liked the Harley Quinn character, she liked the fire guy, she liked she enjoyed the movie, and so to a degree, Warner Brothers got what they wanted, kind of, because I mean look at the movie sales, they're up over 600, right, total for the world.
I'd have to look, but
I think they're up over 600 for the world.
Notes being taken.
it feels like
double check that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I know they're over 500, but check to make sure they're over 600. But they haven't released yet in, was it China?
I'm not sure.
I think it is released in China. I'll double check again.
Yeah, if it is, it's this weekend, because I know it hadn't been yet.
But still, yeah, it has a very much a teenage feel appeal to me.
The
Worldwide,
recut
it's
or the
500
cut that we've got financially is very poppy. Yes.
Yes.
Worldwide, it is 587 million right
So
now.
it-
Let
Yeah,
me
yeah, so I
knew
see.
that- I knew it was close.
Foreign.
Right.
By country, China has not. No, it's not released in China yet.
Yeah, see, so I mean, look how well it's already done, and it hasn't released in China yet. So you know it's going to go over
Well,
6.
isn't there,
Unless they release it in 3D like they did with Jason Bourne. Did you hear about the backlash about
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Holy shit.
making people sick?
Shit cam.
Because that movie should not be fucking released in 3D.
The 3D movie of Jason Bourne in China is making people throw up.
Dude, I mean, could you
Yeah.
imagine? Okay, everyone here that has seen the Bourne Ultimatum, should that be seen in 3D?
No.
That was not shot in
Okay,
3D. It should
yeah.
not be released
so,
in 3D.
So the latest Bourne movie is definitely no. It definitely should not be shot
Oh, God,
in 3D.
no.
But anyway, when Suicide Squad get released over there in China,
it's going to make a crap ton of money.
It's
It'll
gonna go,
at least
yes.
make 100 and 200 million.
Exactly.
Which,
So it'll push it,
to like 800.
which
You know,
is
which would push it close
Good
to
movie.
where Batman v Superman is right now.
So Warner Brothers essentially is getting what they wanted.
Well, And then I think
and that's
No.
funny. The
But that's the thing. But that
fans,
doesn't seem like a corporate move, though.
that's what I'm saying.
That's- exactly.
Corporate is getting what they wanted, and they want the money.
But they're not creating the characters that should be made.
The
off this.
fans
Are pissed.
are pissed because they want.
Or
They
they
want a little more. They,
or they
they
don't-
want a better
Respect.
Or they don't know
Yes.
that they're pissed. They're just so busy defending DC, they don't realize we're churning out a shit product.
well, that, and I think with this film, something we might see that might be interesting is it might actually speak to kind of a cult classic sort of thing. Like, don't get me wrong, is it a flawed movie? But there's a lot of cult movies that are flawed.
Oh,
Like,
God.
I love Repo the Genetic Opera, but it is a flawed fucking film.
Oh god, I have so much fun watching The Room. It is like a bullshit movie.
Yeah.
It's like one of the worst
And
fucking movies
for
ever
me,
made.
like, a lot of the bad things about this
That's a
film,
good
I
movie.
find really
Shut up,
fun.
That's a good movie. UHF is a great movie.
But it's a cult classic.
It's a
though.
cult
Yeah.
classic. No, I'm talking like complete shit. You have to watch The Room. It's like Manos.
Nothing can beat Manos, dude.
You,
Anyway,
you gotta watch. You're tearing me apart, Lisa.
Okay. Anyway.
Legitimate delivery.
All right,
if not, tone
Before
down.
we go on to the rest of the quick fire questions, because we have been thrown out there, let's just briefly, very briefly, over directing. Brian, what'd you think about the directing? Just on the directing.
But yeah, I mean, like the directors. It seems like they
Not sure, right?
they were. I guess they followed what the director said. It's hard to tell because this movie, you had the director come out and say, "This is my cut. This is what I wanted."
Yeah.
You don't have him saying, "There's a director's cut coming. There's an extended cut coming."
There is.
Oh, he announced it. Okay.
I think they've released that. They're. I mean, all the stuff that they're releasing with these deleted scenes. They're saying there's another extended cut coming.
Oh, because what I had originally heard was there's no extended cut coming of this.
Oh yeah,
There's just deleted
Yeah,
scenes.
the director had said this is
But
his
this,
cut.
yeah, the
Yeah.
director said this is my cut,
Yeah.
and this is so you don't have that. There's so much more I wanted to put in this film, and it didn't get put in there. So I guess from that standpoint, I have to say yes. The director was they did what the director wanted.
Yeah, all I'll say is I don't think we'll ever know, just because of what happened and with the reshoots and everything. I don't know, Aaron, what do you think?
I'm kind of on the same boat with you. Like, it's hard to tell, just because we know there were so many reshoots. We know you had a lot of the music kind of introduced to kind of change up the tone a little bit. And then you have just a lot of scenes that were probably added with the reshoots as well. So it's hard to say.
Yeah, John.
You know, from someone who's actually been in the director's chair before, that was actually one of the moments I came out of this movie thinking, you know, the director, knowing what I know from his body of work, knowing Street Kings, knowing End of Watch, knowing that is what inspired Thug Joker, was this director's like previous body of work before this movie. The fact that this guy was one of the writers of Training Day, you know,
So is he the one that told Leto to?
he may have been. Yeah, that's
Like-
probably
like,
where
how do
all
you
this
want-
came from.
How do you want this Joker portrayed? Look
Dude,
at
he's
all
like
the drug lord
he-
stuff.
Yeah, he's like a drug lord. Dude, look at like South
He's an
Central
urban
LA. You know, look at all this shit. No, I really think
If that's
that,
actually what inspired Toledo, then that was a horrible choice of the director.
no, it really is a horrible choice. But that's the thing, is I hate to say it, Warner Brothers DC Cinematic Universe is not picking the right directors, and that's why I really hope Patty Jenkins. I think her vision might come clear through the Wonder Woman film. I did not see David Ayer, from everything I know about him cinematically, through Fury, through Street Kings, through End of Watch, I did not see the body of work from this director really come out in this film. I really felt that he was kind of stifled. I felt that,
It's very possible.
this sound, everything we discussed about the soundtrack being like afterthoughts after Batman v Superman, I thought they were just kind of, sure, hey, if you want to make it peppy and we're gonna give these backstories, let's have House of the Rising Sun. I really thought that this other song was supposed to be in there, or hell, we got the fucking Oscar-winning composer from Gravity making the score for my film. Oh, you're gonna cut his score and we'll throw in that song? Great, whatever. It really, all of this is reactionary. All of it is a corporate afterthought, and that's, when you get a director's cut like Blade Runner, and you hear about all the stories in the past, like what came out in the theaters in 1982 seems so clusterfucked because this guy that was a Univision producer that came in because the movie went so far over budget that he had to step in and, give him the final funding, but he's like, oh no, fuck you, or we're shooting a new ending because I don't get this. Yeah, which really happened. You know, that's, you know, when you get the final cut in like 2014 or 2015 or however late that we got of the Blade Runner cut, and then you got the director's cut back in 92, you realize, oh, this is more what he was going for. This was symbolic. This was not meant to be as exciting as the title Blade Runner would suggest. I mean, I would really like to see that final cut of David Ayers, and even in some respects Zack Snyder's, because I mean, as much of an extended cut as we got, I don't think Zack Snyder really got to see that Batman raped in prison scene that he really wanted, that we got in all those interviews from him before.
Oh shit, I forgot he mentioned that.
Yeah,
actually.
that's why. Fucking get Zack Snyder out of there. He's a terrible director for superhero films. Warner Brothers, what the fuck are you thinking?
All right, John. Take it easy. Take it easy.
So no, directing wise, I didn't see the director's vision come out on this
Well, I
film.
mean, you can almost make the argument, if looking at David Ayer's previous work, that it might not have been a great fit for the film to begin with.
No, yeah. But they just said, oh, hey, you made a great movie in 2014 with Fury. Hey, you, let's get you. Whatever.
All right. And on that note, let's move into quick fire questions, some of which we've already gone into.
We
but
probably covered a bit, like almost half.
Let's see how
Probably.
quick we can make these.
Yeah, let's try to make them quick.
It's gone longer
Favorite
than I thought it would, actually.
favorite quotes, Mr. Rankenbauer.
Yeah, I had two from Harley.
Okay.
One was the when Katana shows up and says, "Love your perfume. What is that stench of death?" You know,
Stench of death.
yeah, I like that one, and then I like the one we saw in all the trailers. Was the where she's standing in front of everybody for the first time,
Yeah.
and she's like, "What? What was that?
The
I
wolf.
should kill everyone and escape." Oh, I'm just kidding. That was the voices.
They didn't really say
They didn't really say that.
that. All right, Aaron.
Mine's also between Katana and Harley Quinn, where Katana says something to Harley Quinn along the lines, "If you act out, I'll fucking cut you."
Yeah.
And Harley Quinn's like, "Oh, she seems nice."
Yeah. Oh, she seems nice. I really like her.
Yeah.
Seems nice. Yeah. Johnny.
God, I mean, there were some pretty good, okay lines in there, but the delivery of Flag when he's in the helicopter talking to Will Smith, and you can tell he is never like in Saving Private Ryan. Like every one of those actors except Matt Damon went to boot camp and were fucking miserable and knew what it was like to be a soldier, and you saw that in all their faces in Saving Private Ryan. When Flag looked at Will Smith and went, "I'm a soldier," I'm just like, you never went to boot camp one day in your life, did you? Just that line, God, weeks after I've seen that movie, still stands out in my head. It just gives me a chuckle, just like, oh my God. If
It's
Leto went that method into the Joker, why couldn't you?
Well, maybe he's just an Eminem soldier. My favorite.
Soldier Boy and Superman, and I think he got those mixed up. Superman, that shit.
Superman. Anyway, my favorite quote would actually be from Killer Croc. I am beautiful. I like that.
No, dude. Oh, dude.
Well, whatever. I understood it. I thought it was pretty funny. Favorite characters, Aaron.
Between Harley Quinn and Diablo.
Okay, that's fair. Brian.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Harley's definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
And then it's a toss-up for me between Diablo and Deadshot.
Deadshot. Yeah.
I'm going to go empathetically and give a shout out to the father of daughters out there with Diablo and Deadshot, as well as Harley's booty shorts as like my parallel there.
Your parallel.
You really like the booty shorts?
It's that distracting of a thing. It's like she was a good
then
character.
Then you should go see the one in China because they actually digitally put down extra layers of shorts so it goes down farther under.
I
ass.
might go to China just for that reason.
I did hear that. That's what took so long. That's why it didn't get released in China.
Really?
That's hilarious.
That's actually kind of hilarious.
Because they said it wasn't going to get released. China said you're not releasing it here
until you fix it.
until they fix it. So they had to digitally go in and.
How hilarious would it
So
be if
there's a picture online that actually shows it. One in the U.S. that has it right below her ass cheeks,
Yeah.
and then one that has it
A little
a
further
little further down, like on her thigh.
How hilarious would it be if we actually had like U.S. releases of all the Chinese releases? Because I heard in like was it like the Middle East, they actually wouldn't release posters for the Hunger Games just because Jennifer Lawrence was the only character on the cover. 'Cause she was
Same thing with what was the other one? Divergent.
Oh yeah.
Same thing with Divergent because she was the only one on the poster, and they said they don't want a girl in the poster.
Wow.
Okay, I'm gonna say this right now. Middle East, dig your heads out of the sand.
Okay.
Get with the 21st century.
All right, we'll stop right there.
It's not a political statement at all.
No,
Not at all.
a little bit.
We're in the Midwest.
I liked Deadshot. It's when it comes to favorite characters. I just really liked Will Smith as Deadshot in this one. I thought he did a really good job. Aaron, favorite moment, if you can think of one.
I don't know if there's actually a favorite moment that comes out. Maybe the scene between Deadshot and Batman with the daughter on
With
the
the daughter.
side.
No,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Aaron or
Aaron again?
Aaron number 2.
Brian.
I know everybody didn't like it, but I like the end.
Really?
I like the fact that we got to see them all fight together
Okay.
as a squad,
Yeah.
more so than individually.
Yeah.
I like that aspect of it. I didn't really care for the CGI of the brother villain, but I did like the CGI of Diablo.
Okay. John.
You know, actually, I'm gonna kind of back you up on that. I would have really liked to have seen more of that development of them as a unity, because we've seen so much of them as individuals, and that's actually kind of a interesting theme that this movie never really touched on. Is this is a movie of individuals that doesn't trust anybody, and the fact that they're all fighting together at the end.
Yeah, they don't
That's
really have any
great.
paranoia about each other.
No,
do
they don't. But then at the end, it's like, fuck you guys, we're doing our own thing. It's like, whoa, what the hell? You're just you're negating one of our greatest scenes in the end. You know, this could have been really cool. This could have been like the moment where Star-Lord distracts, the bad guy at the end, Mr. Again, Marvel, your villains aren't great. Your villains aren't as great as DC.
I'm not sure if Star-Lord dancing to distract the villain is necessarily where you want to go. as a
Where
comparison.
I was going with that was the fact that in the end, all 4 of them had to join together to contain the Infinity Stone.
Okay,
it's the
fair
fact
enough.
that all of them worked as a cohesive unit together, and that's what
Well, they did at the very
they
end.
did
of
at
this
the
one.
very end. But then they just went, whatever, fuck you. And just
Exactly. And then it was
left.
like, okay, and now
Well,
we're all going back to ourselves.
Right. It's like, okay, welcome to Nothing is Developed Theater. I know, okay, as far as like my favorite moment, that's kind of it's a rough thing to ask, actually, because it's like, favorite is like, if I think of favorite moments, I think of like some of my favorite moments in movies. If I'm thinking of my favorite moment of The Dark Knight, it's the interrogation scene where it's just like 2 people talking in a room and you're just like on the edge of your seat.
Okay.
I didn't have a favorite moment, but if I had to say favorite moment from this film, it's really kind of hard. I don't have one to really pick from
Well, that's fair.
because it was adequate.
Okay. Mine would actually just be the whole bar scene. I thought it was really well done. I like.
Okay, fine, that's mine.
Yeah. There you go. I like the interaction.
Write it
on
better,
the
but
back
it's
and
mine.
forth. With them just being human.
I also like the
Yes.
interaction between Deadshot and Diablo when they're in the building.
Oh,
And
where
he-
he's trying.
and he's trying to get him pissed.
Yeah.
He's like, whoa, 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 and he's like, you want to see me, man? He's like, oh, and he's like, we're good,
Burns
right?
the whole floor.
He's like, I was just getting you there. You were good, right?
trying to get to that.
That was the
That's the Will Smith
Blockbuster.
moment.
Yeah, that's
That was
blockbuster
pretty
Will
fun.
Smith.
That is
right
the
there.
Will Smithiest moment of the movie.
Yeah, that is like Independence Day. Just had to come down here and ruin my barbecue.
That was like his enemy of the state shopping in the lingerie shop before he has the device dropped
Yeah.
in his bag scene.
All right, least favorite moment, John.
Come back to me, please.
Okay, Brian.
My least favorite moment is when the Enchantress magically goes and frees her brother that she could have done the entire time at any moment, but she does it while they're in bed.
Yeah, I
It,
thought that
it was just felt. It was like, so you could have done this the entire time and then not know where you are, but you chose now to do it. Why?
Yeah, what was stopping you?
Yeah.
Aaron.
Probably a lot of the kind of forced jokes from the guard from Workaholics.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Like a
I
lot
forgot
of
about
like
that.
there's some of those things that kind of work, and then there's just so many others where it's just like this. I know this was part of the reshoots, but damn it, you didn't have to do this many of them.
And there's no payoff in the end.
No, not really.
Like, he was just there to, like...
Like the closest thing
Yeah.
to a payoff is you have him being the dude that's interrogated by the Joker because he's like can't pay his gambling debts or some shit.
Right.
That's the closest thing to a payoff, and it's not there.
And it's not a payoff; it's just a connection.
Yeah, essentially. And just so many of those jokes are just forced and kind of stupid, and it was probably the bit you could have cut the most, or kind of just toned down a bit. The only exception to that is when you do have Deadshot that has like almost like a gun to his head, and he's like, "Holy shit! I didn't think you were crazy enough to give me real bullets."
Oh yeah, when he smells it.
Yeah.
That's my
Like, that's the only part where that works.
Like right after he shoots it, he's
totally
like,
my favorite,
He,
yeah, part.
he shoots it and then goes, "Holy shit!"
one of my favorite moments.
I thought you
Yeah.
gave me blanks.
Yeah.
All right, I thought of my least favorite scene of the movie.
All right.
Slipknot's demise.
Yeah.
Because, okay,
Done and gone.
in addition to that, it's the fact that Adam Beach as an actor, the guy has really been struggling to have a career since Flags of Our Fathers. This has been 10 goddamn years since Flags of Our Fathers, and this is the only movie in between them that we really say, "Oh, hey, who's this guy?" And then it was like, "Oh, hey, he's there," and his head blows up. No. What? You got to kill the Native American?
Well, actually, they killed the rapist because that was his backstory that they cut. Was him and the whole raping of Wonder Woman and
Wait, what?
yeah,
What?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Fuck this movie if that's the backstory.
Like that was his whole thing, that he was a serial rapist and everything else, and
No,
that was his backstory.
Oh, that is a crappy backstory.
That is the
That was his
most-
backstory.
You know, that
He
makes
was
me
caught
hate.
by Wonder Woman,
That makes me hate this scene even more because they
and that's-
literally just
that's-
wrote this bullshit for nothing.
and that's kind of why they kind of cut him out, because they wanted to take the whole rape thing out and everything
This-
else that was.
Yeah, you know what? No,
that's
fuck this
way.
character. Here's the thing: we know Snake Plissken in Enemy or Escape from New York has something attached to his neck, and it's going to blow up if he doesn't rescue the president in a given time. We don't need to see someone completely wasted just to prove that there's an explosive device in them. I'm sorry,
Technically, we didn't
this,
see it.
but
did we?
yeah, we did.
We heard it.
We heard it, and we saw a headless corpse fall. You know.
Yeah, I guess so.
And that's the thing. Adam Beach, you deserve better. You were a good actor. You were a great character in Flags of Our Fathers.
I didn't see that one either.
It's a good movie, and he's an actor that really should be utilized more. And this was really a throwaway scene and a bad use of an actor that should be utilized more.
Copy that. My least favorite moment. It's hard to. I'm just saying the battle scene. I just didn't like it. Didn't care for it. I know you liked it, Brian. Just not one of my favorites, man. The shimmy in front of the.
To me, that's one of the funniest things about this
It's
movie.
funny, but it's like. Did she just really just do like a?
Oh, well, the
Axl
funny thing is,
Rose?
like, she's doing it throughout the entire film. Anytime she's in the Enchantress character, even like when it's like beginning and it's darker, a bit more like almost dirt on her sort of thing, she's still doing
In
that.
the
It's
cave,
just
before she goes
yeah,
there, yeah.
she's still doing it. She's just hunched over more.
Just like-
It's amazingly fucking funny.
Evil Shakira.
Yeah,
Well, it's like a cross between Shakira and The Ring.
a little bit. Yeah.
Anyway. All right. We already talked about the 27% on tomatoes. We covered that. Could you guys tell where the reshoots were, Aaron?
Yeah,
Pretty much, yeah.
a good chunk.
Okay. Brian?
I couldn't. I'm assuming I know where they are, but I couldn't tell where the reshoots were.
Okay. John?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I could too. It was pretty... I think that's where it got that choppiness from to me. Yeah. For me.
Warner Brothers, stay the hell out of the editing room. That's all I want to say at the end of this. After Batman v Superman and this, get the fuck out of the editing room and let the director just do his damn job.
So a follow-up, does Leto have a point, or he feels where he's been lied to? Where, the reshoots, it sounds like, definitely that whole scene I described to you guys about him getting his teeth punched out by Batman and everything.
Yeah, they definitely cut out a lot of Leto stuff, but at the same time, like, I disliked his portrayal enough where I'm really kind of indifferent to him being pissed off about it.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you like just to see it all so you can actually give a fair
Like,
portrayal of it?
I'm not.
No.
No.
I think you can make the argument for it, but at the same time, like, I disliked it so much
That's the
that
thing, too.
He's just mad because he got his lines cut.
yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is like,
I don't think he was lied to. And this wasn't a Joker movie.
it wasn't, but I think they approached him to it in the sense that it was kind of like that. So he probably did,
Or it was
You know,
meant
for-
to be a setup for him.
yeah, or,
Or they said, hey, we're making this new universe. Would you like to play the Joker? And he thought, oh, Heath Ledger was a Joker, Jack Nicholson was a Joker, and they had big parts in the movie. And he just thought that, so he did all
So
this.
then,
role-
yeah.
So
So
he
he probably did think he was more like influential in the storyline than just a throwaway character.
right,
Then read the script beforehand.
exactly.
Well, that's the thing is, and that's where I get into is the fact that Warner Brothers quit making 8-hour single shot movies. Okay, that's the thing is you're not gonna just make a movie like a fucking shotgun. You know, don't like just have like this gigantic explosion and whatever hits your mark is your film. Make a cohesive fucking 2-hour film. Don't
Yeah.
just make
Edit
two
the
and a
script
half,
before you get
3
to
hour,
shooting.
4, 5, 6, whatever. Make a single story. That's the problem. So yeah, I think
So
Leto
edit
has
twice,
a bit of a
shoot
point.
once.
Make a goddamn movie. Make your 115 to 105 page script. Lengthen it out for however long you want your effects department to be with your action sequences, but tell a cohesive story within that time frame. So yeah, I think Leto has a bit of a point because yeah, they approached him because to sink that deep into the Joker, knowing what it did to Heath Ledger, I think any actor's on the fence, knowing how far you have to invest yourself into that character. And I think they went and approached him as like, hey, we're going to shoot about, here's literally a month and a half to 2 months out of your time that for all this preparation time, you're going to have to like detach yourself from everything your family, your friends, and everything. And then we're going to shoot. And then you're going to be like crazy. Here's your method. Ooh, hey, the method. Lee Strasberg, you've done so much damage. And then by the time it's wrapped, go back to Leto and, hey, occasionally come back to that so you can record your lines in post. Yeah, there's a lot that's invested in that. So I could see how he feels betrayed. But again, that's Warner Brothers shooting a 6-hour film to shove into your August summer lineup for a 2-hour fun popcorn film. No.
Actually an hour and a half. But,
Make a full story.
I agree. All right, so we pretty much covered the next one as well with Suicide Squad, more pop or dark. We've already kind of went over that. So in the movie, we do hear the Enchantress, when talking to Diablo, say something like the magic's returning, the metahumans are a sign of that. I don't know if you guys picked up on that, and if so, do you think it's maybe it's part of a bigger plot that they're hinting at in the DCU that they might use in future movies and plot lines and whatnot of any kind? Aaron, what do you think?
It might be a subplot they throw out there in one of the future like Justice League films or something, but I don't expect it to take center stage by any means.
Okay, Brian, what do you think?
The metahumans are a big part of the DC universe, so I don't think that specifically they're going to use that reference right there to say that's when everybody realized. But I do think that was them trying to connect all the different universes.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like connect the Flash and Batman and Wonder Woman and stuff. That was their way of making sure that everybody got that they are aware of the metahumans and
It's also a way to distinguish them from mutants.
right, because they're talking about
Yeah.
the metahumans in the Justice League. Right? When they were when he was finding the stuff and he's like, all the metahumans, and then they talked about it in the beginning with Waller, and she says, they're going to use their metahumans, we might as well use ours.
I think it was kind of like what we were talking about before with, the fact that we've had like the tie-ins with the Flash and Batman and Superman. It was just enough to make it feel like it was part of the cinematic universe that they're trying to develop. Because let's face it, they're trying to make a Marvel Cinematic Universe in DC, so that's their way of tying it together.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so next question. Joker and Harley, they say they're heading home at the end of this movie. That probably means Gotham. Do you think they're going to show up in the, I believe it's called The Batman, which is the next Batman's, whatchamacallit movie? Ben
Standalone?
Affleck. Yeah, standalone.
It's Ben Affleck's movie.
Yeah. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're at least going to... I think even if they're not the main villain, you'll see them in the movie.
Okay.
At least partially.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have the cameo effect in this next movie.
Oh, okay.
Just because of how well Harley Quinn was received in this one.
Yeah.
I think you'll definitely see her in the Batman standalone movie just to get that same audience. And she'll be in the trailer because then all the girls and everybody will be like, I want to go see Harley again.
Okay.
To try to pull that
demographic.
Yeah, because I mean, you got to think when everybody says Suicide Squad, Harley. Everybody knows Harley,
Yeah,
right?
it's Harley
so
first.
Harley is now their female version of Batman. So of course they're going to try to put the two juggernauts together, that their moneymakers together in one movie.
Okay.
So you might see more Harley. I hope we don't see more Joker. I hope
I think that, based on what you're saying there, we're going to see more. It's going to look like, the fight in Batman Returns with, like, Batman versus Catwoman, where the Penguin happens to show up on an umbrella.
Yes. So I'm hoping we don't see more Joker, but I think we will.
Okay. John, what do you think? You think they're going to be the main villains? You think they'll be the side cameo? Or
Based on everything we've seen from the DC Cinematic Universe, all they have to do is just cross the river.
Twin Cities, which are Gotham and...
and
Still
New
a
York
horrible
City.
choice,
and
actually.
God damn it! Make a map.
Like the Twin City thing is like a horrible change to the universe, isn't it? Like
I don't care for it. No,
No, it's a terrible idea.
the Bat and the Superman should not be that close together.
No,
Like
it really
if they're
shouldn't.
twin cities, like Superman could just it's in close enough proximity, he could just run
Govern
everything.
both.
Right.
Yeah. Like don't get me wrong, you can kind of make the argument when they're like half a continent away, but
Well,
still
one is supposed to be Chicago, one
Yeah,
is
it's
supposed to
New
be New
York.
York.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like how far away is Staten Island from New York City? Even though it's across the river, hey, it's still part of this state, or it's still part of this entire oceanography here.
part of the greater area.
Right. Superman can fucking monitor that.
yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure Batman can cover somewhat larger than a city if he wants to. Like it might take him longer to get from one point to another, but he seems to be a competent enough character. He can kind of cover it.
Kind of handle the Twin City effect.
Yeah.
And again, everything we've
He
established.
can cover a
in-
tri-state.
I'm going to take over the tri-state area. Batman versus Doofenshmirtz.
Nice.
That is actually something that would make a great DC cinematic universe.
Okay. All right. So, if you guys could pick a Suicide Squad, who would be in it? Johnny?
Come back to me. I have to think of these.
Aaron?
Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, Poison Ivy, probably Killer Croc as well.
Okay.
Probably Clayface, maybe.
Ooh, good choice.
There's one Batman.
Great choice.
Which Clayface? The one from the animated series, or that stupid one we got from Gotham?
Clearly the animated one.
Clearly, the
Yeah, there's no reason to use the one from Gotham. The one from Gotham's fucking useless.
Oh my god! It was
Oh
so bad.
my god.
And maybe Solomon Grundy or Bizarro.
Ooh, Bizarro would be an
Yeah.
interesting choice. All right, Brian.
Yeah, I like Aaron's. The only one I switch out would probably be King Shark for. Killer Croc.
Killer Croc.
Yeah. I think that was what they originally wanted anyway.
Copy. All right. John, you got anything yet?
I'm just so enamored with the addition of Clayface to this group. I mean, yeah. I think it'd be kind of neat to actually have like all the existing villains from every one of our favorite DC heroes exist in there. Like you've got Bizarro,
The main rival.
right? You've got Clayface or Killer Croc. I mean, ones that exist in kind of like the metahuman
Yeah,
universe.
I mean, if you
Or
look at the
Captain
Suicide
Boomerang
Squad,
or-
it's not quite the Legion of Doom. Like
That's what I was
it's a
going to
little
say.
less.
Yeah.
If you're including all these guys, we're essentially just making the Legion of Doom.
right, right.
Like,
right. I mean,
it's not quite Legion of Doom level characters, but it's kind of like the
You're
tier
get-
below that.
You're getting the
just
people
being
that
used
lost
by
the
government.
election to get into the Legion of Doom.
Yeah, essentially. Like you have the villain B team in a lot of ways.
So
Yeah.
maybe kind of like Cheetah would be kind of interesting if we're going to go
Yeah,
into the
she'd
Wonder
actually be a
Woman
really
villain.
good choice, actually.
Yeah. Who else?
Ooh, or Toyman.
Yeah,
Toyman would be a good choice.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking of like,
Trickster.
Harley, Killer,
Maybe.
Trickster. Yeah, actually, Trickster would be great. I mean, imagine like a love triangle between like Harley, the Joker, and Trickster.
Trickster. Yeah, that'd be sweet.
That would make for a great Suicide Squad too. Is like this crazy like love triangle between the.
And put Hamill back out there again. I
Oh my God, Mark Hamill is both the Joker and Trickster. you have Margot Robbie with like both these split personalities.
If they're
of
going with the
Skywalker.
variant of like DC Comics where there's multiple Jokers or like 3 versions of it, yeah, you could do it actually.
Oh God. You might as
Don't
well
get me wrong,
just
I
give him
dislike that comic version of the Joker, but you could do it.
you might as well just give him a fucking lightsaber.
Captain Boomerang should have like lightsaber boomerang.
Well, it would just be one of the Trickster's weapons. He'll just stare adamantly at the screen.
I'm Darth Boomerang. Jesus.
I need
Okay.
the power. Show me the way.
I can't.
Holding me back, everyone.
This question's going really, really far south. All right. Final question.
Who you in?
Yeah, well, who is your Suicide
You didn't
Squad
say
there,
your Suicide
B. Willie?
Squad.
Well, like I said, I would like.
You didn't say
I
anything.
like.
Maybe the last one.
Yeah.
Well,
The last time we recorded, maybe.
Okay, I would like to see Trickster involved. I think that would be a cool thing, kind of like Johnny said. Kind of a, if you're gonna put Joker in, you put Trickster in there. They could be a
Well, that was
rival.
Aaron's choice, adding Trickster.
No, it wasn't my choice.
that was
That was
mine.
Brian.
Oh, that was
Mine.
yours. That's right.
Yeah.
He was
okay,
interjecting
I'm
into yours.
Yeah, I would use Trickster. I would try to stay with more, like we said, expand the universe, because the Suicide Squad's a good platform. So try to find the lesser known villains, maybe. You know, because they've expanded my universe. I didn't know much about Deadshot before this movie. I didn't know next to nothing on Boomerang.
It's a great way to realize why these characters are why they're villains that matter in these heroes' universes.
Yeah, I think the other thing would be, if you're gonna when you show the, make sure to show what superhero they're connected to.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah, you have to throw the backstory in a little bit.
Well, because like when the Flash caught the Boomerang, but they didn't show you, like I said, because they cut it out. They didn't show you who caught Slipknot.
Yeah,
I think they
Because-
mentioned it though, didn't they?
No, they didn't say anything about Wonder Woman.
no,
Okay.
and
But they
it's
could've-
a good thing they didn't, because it was
God,
a
if
crappy idea.
if that's the idea they have, I mean, seriously, that's like Ryona X videos, like porn sites,
I think-
stuff.
I think
of
you
what
had-
they wrote in there for Wonder Woman.
And I think you have to pick villains that are interesting. I think you can't use one dynamic. You got to make them human. Like, the reason why we like Deadshot so much is Will Smith makes him human.
Yeah, they made him a three-dimensional character.
But
Which is-
he's also kind of like the tier below Deathstroke in the DC universe as far as assassins.
Yeah, but I mean, if
In
we look
this
at
version,
Diablo, I
yes.
think that's
Yeah.
why we like that character as well. Not only is the actor do a decent portrayal of him, you actually have motivation for his actions. You have a great backstory. and
Yeah.
there's a reason it's a fleshed out character.
Precisely. So, all right, real quick. Do you guys think there should be a sequel to Suicide Squad? Yes or no, Aaron?
Sure.
Okay. Brian?
It's already scheduled for spring of 2017 to start.
Okay, if it's up to you. If it was solely up to you.
If it wasn't
Okay,
announced,
if it was up to me,
So-
they would start shooting tomorrow.
Okay, that's a good answer. John?
I think Warner Brothers should listen to this podcast and actually allow us to write the sequel to the Suicide
Hey, I'm
Squad
game
based
for-
on what we have written here tonight.
I'm
Yeah.
game for that. You can reach us by...
Right. Hey, Hank, how can they find us?
Yeah, really, just Google us.
Google us.
Google us.
You
Yeah.
can find everything on there.
Four Midwest guys.
Some of us work in movies already. Come on.
So, yes, speaking of, we'll get to that eventually. Final thoughts and grades first.
All my friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you know. Please don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse. All my friends.
All right, Aaron, your final thought and grade, sir.
6.5, 7, somewhere in that range. This plot line's kind of generic, kind of, comic book kind of thing. It would have worked for, a 45-minute, TV episode sort of thing. Some of the characters are done well. Some of them are, like Leto's Joker, where I'm not particularly fond of him, but it is what it is. And it's a fun action film, but it's not groundbreaking and it's flawed.
Okay, copy that. Aaron? Or Aaron again.
Aaron, number
Brian.
2.
I know our parents do this between our
Jesus,
names,
man.
but you don't have to do it as well.
I've been spending a lot of time with
He's
him
even got
lately.
your name, too. He calls you Aaron number 2.
That's pretty cool, George.
That does happen, but anyway.
No, I would probably give it. What'd you give it, Aaron?
6.5.
6.5. I would probably give it probably like a 7, 7.5. Like
Yeah.
it's not the greatest movie ever.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was going to be going in.
Yeah.
But it was entertaining.
Yeah, it's definitely rewatchable.
Yeah. So I would say it's right around a 7, 7.5.
Okay, John?
Again, like I said, it's not the greatest summer film out there, but it's not a movie to get up in arms about. It's not Batman v Superman. I get up in arms about that movie because that is a terrible movie and a terrible portrayal. This movie, fuck that. It's a miserable universe. I'm not going back to it. No, it's about, like I said before, I said it was about 2.5 stars. You know, I kind of switch back and forth between B-, C+. I'll give you a B- passing grade, DC, if you stay the fuck out of the editing room from here on out. And I know Hank has mentioned that they're jumping back in the editing room of Wonder Woman and Justice League right now. So
Already?
yeah, because fuck
they even
you,
finished shooting
Warner
Wonder
Brothers.
Woman?
No, Warner Brothers, again, it's their board of executives that say, send one of our damage control people into the editing room.
I gotta be honest, I've seen the trailer for the Wonder Woman film. I don't think you need to add poppy songs and make
holy
it...
shit! Get the fuck out!
No, it's
that is
an
a great looking trailer. Stay the fuck out of it.
Amazon movie all the way. I love it.
Hell yes.
Like, you don't need to insert more jokes, I don't think.
The second I read, the second they released that Gal Gadot actually served 2 years in the Israeli army,
Yeah.
I went, oh god, okay, I'm finally sold on Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. She's fucking badass, because if anyone's seen Krav Maga, that's some badass martial arts, and you gotta be tough to fight in the Israeli army.
Yes, you do.
But back to the original question. B-, C+, I go back and forth. I can see why it's considered a bad film. It's definitely flawed. It's not the greatest out there. It's reactionary at best. But yeah, it could have been a fun movie. A fun movie was in there. Warner Brothers, trust your filmmakers. Do your research. Find a director that likes the subject material they're directing and let them make it, and trust them. That's what's making Marvel succeed right now, is they trust their artists. Warner Brothers, find the artists that want to do this and will give it a passion, and trust them.
I think Deadpool earlier on this year was a good example of that.
Deadpool's a perfect example.
That was clearly a film that, was years in the making. And,
Oh, yeah.
Almost a lot of people involved were passionate about it. Even the marketing staff seemed passionate about it.
Well, I was gonna say another movie that was the head of the director that was passionate about it was starting the new Star Trek.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
He was a lifelong Trekkie, and
Right.
You could tell.
And you could tell
Yeah.
because his style, the whole Fast and Furious, like it felt fast the whole way through.
Right.
Yeah, but it was clearly a Star Trek.
But it was a
film.
Star Trek film.
yeah.
But he merged them both very well, and it was just like I think, and like we were saying, this
Still can't believe it did.
That's-
Not doing that well.
Oh my god.
That Star Trek was our first review where we all basically had rave reviews about it.
Yeah,
Right.
it's true.
Okay.
It's very true.
Go see Star Trek Beyond. If it's still out in theaters right now, if it's still out there, see that one.
Very.
Past Suicide Squad, see that movie first. Because
Okay.
that director clearly had a love for the subject matter.
There you go. I'll go say it's a solid C plus, or 6.5, 7. It's flawed, but it's fun. I think demographically it's probably more for a teenager than it is for the adult or young adult category moviegoer for comic book movies. But that's what you get. It's a poppy, fun take on bad guys. It's not as dark as Batman v Superman, and that's probably not necessarily a bad thing, but at the same time it is flawed. But if you just go in knowing that it's a superhero movie and that it's probably made more for teenagers, if you accept that, I think you're going to have fun watching it at the end of the day. So alright, so where can you find 4 Midwest Guys? Well, you can just Google us. Go to Google, put in the number 4 Midwest Guys. We have a Facebook page there. We have a Twitter account, which is about 1,500 people last time I looked. Brian, where can people find you on Twitter?
At Ankzone, ANKZONE.
Copy that. And Johnny?
We are available to rewrite your blockbusters, Warner Brothers, or anybody out there right now that are listening. We will happily do that for you because we are passionate nerds here.
There you go. So reach out to us and let us know what you think. We'd like to hear back from the fans, too, that listen to our podcast. And we've been gone for a while. It's been summer, and I'm kind of going through a bit of a house renovation. So
Technical snafus.
little technical snafus on top of it. This is a take 2.
Fuck you, Skype.
Yeah, fuck you, Skype.
But yeah, like I posted today on Twitter, and I said it's podcast season again.
Yes, it is. It is podcast season again, and we're amping up. We've got Rebels is coming back. Gotham will be back. I'm kind of excited because I've heard Jerome is coming back. That was my reason for bringing back the Gotham show. We weren't too sure, but we're definitely going to do Gotham. We'll do Rebels.
I have a possibility to throw out there.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's not like people on the internet haven't done this before. What about us doing Stranger Things?
I've yet to actually sit down and watch it. I've heard nothing but good things,
Oh,
but
it's
yeah,
great.
we could definitely review
Okay,
it.
we got 3 people here that passionately love that series.
Okay, well then I'll add it to my list, and we can make that actually a special series because that's a Netflix series.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we had talked
And
about
there's
doing
only-
that before.
Yeah,
there's
with
only
Sun
8
and
episodes.
Those things.
So, okay, yeah, we'll add it to the list. So we've got a lot of stuff coming down.
Marvel DC King.
Marvel DC Kings is coming back. I've already started notes for a mini series for Rogue One. Mini series coming down the pike that I'm calling I Rebel.
Do you?
Yes, I
Do
do.
you really rebel?
Yes, I do. Yes, I
How
do.
do you rebel?
It's not. It's, I think you pronounced it wrong. I thought there was a comma there, and it was called I Rebel.
It is
Kind of like I Robot.
Or it's more like I rebel.
No, it's
Like
not.
you want to call yourself the rebel, like you're part of the rebel.
I Rebel.
Alliance.
Yeah.
Well,
I rebel.
Anyway, so that's coming down
Like
the
I
pike.
Robot.
I also would like to start doing.
I Rabbit.
There'll probably be a monthly.
Interesting.
That's another podcast from mine.
I tell you, no respect. Anyway, also be a Star Wars review, or maybe a monthly Star Wars podcast as well, if we can find some time. I've got plenty to talk about there as well. So, with that, or Star Wars news, anyway. So, with that in mind, John, thanks for joining us, sir.
Always a pleasure of you guys putting up with me.
Absolutely, no, it's my pleasure. Mr. Ankemeyer?
Hey, God, I'm beautiful.
Okay, whatever the hell he just said. I think
You don't speak Croc?
I do, but. And Aaron, thanks for joining us, sir.
No problem, man. Have a good one.
All right, and for myself, B. Willie saying we'll catch you next time.